Rocky III, an American tradition.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Let's Talk Movies podcast with John and David. I'm John, that's David, aka Shamrock Balls, and we are continuing in our breakdowns of the Rocky franchise, and now we are up to 1982's Rocky III, and as our neighborhood resident Rocky fan, David, I'm going to let you take the reins from here.
John, how would you feel about maybe putting this podcast off till tomorrow?
I don't know if I can do that. I don't think I can do that.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Now we got to transition to tomorrow.
We transition to, looking in the mirror.
Yeah, the man I've become. Broken man.
A broken man, what has happened to you? What the hell's wrong with you, man? You're not the John I used to know doing these podcasts.
No, because I'm afraid. All right, you want to hear me say it?
Before I didn't have anything, but now there's Shamrock Balls, there's a podcast.
What do we got that we can't replace? We got houses, we got cars, money.
Yeah, so what a classic lane. I had to start with that one, John. But yeah, I would say I probably am more the resident Rocky fan than you, even though you enjoy the movies and the franchise. I'm a big Rocky fan, and as people found out, like, Rocky's in the top 10 movies of all time for me. I have Rocky 2 as one of my favorite sequels of all time. So I just want to actually just ask you first off, what's your opinions on Rocky 3?
It's weird, David. This is the third one we've done, and I think that these have been like the only Rocky movies I watched for the last 3 years. So I'm kind of like going in order, and I'm like, wow, I liked Rocky 2 more than Rocky 1. Then I watched Rocky 3, and I'm like, damn, I liked Rocky 3 more than I liked Rocky 1 and 2. So, and I know that Rocky 4 is usually my favorite, so we'll see next year when we get to that. But
yeah,
I just love the 1980s pacing of this movie. I love the story, and I just absolutely enjoyed it. Now, does the ending is satisfying? Like the end of the fight of this one is satisfying? It's like Rocky 1 and 2. I don't think so. I still think, we got to break them down to build them back up. But I don't think it's as well done of a film as the other two, maybe. But I absolutely, from an entertainment factor, love this movie. I just love how it feels. I love how it's paced. I love the characters. I mean, this is like, we'll talk about it when we get into the film, like, a staple of the 80s. And I almost think like the prologue to what the 80s would become going forward.
Yeah, it's flashier, it's glossier, it's faster. Again, it reflects Stallone's life. There's a lot of stuff in this which, if you look at the Rocky movies, it reflects his career and his life. The first movie is just like his real life story of just trying to get a hit movie made, right? Then you have the second movie of becoming relatively famous, but not having too many hits. And then people, star fading, and then having to come back to Rocky 2 and make that a hit. And this is like the next step. So this is like Stallone, who is now, relatively famous, and it's about basically how he deals with that fame. So it's how Rocky deals with that fame. So Rocky mirrors Sylvester Stallone. So it's Rocky dealing with fame, and of course forgetting where he kind of came from, forgetting that he has to have that hunger.
The eye of the tiger.
The eye of the tiger. And I also feel as well as that if you take this movie in isolation, it's almost like the first two movies rolled into one, right? Where it's kind of like, he gets his shot, he loses, then he gets his rematch, right? So it also kind of, when I was thinking about this, when I was taking notes as well, it's almost like, a superhero losing his superpowers and having to rediscover them again.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly. You got to remember what made you so good in the first place. And I mean, the line Mick says describes it all in this movie is like, you became civilized. And that's kind of what happens to a lot of athletes in general. You lose the drive. It's always better in wrestling terms to be the chaser than be the chased, like now you once you hit the mountaintop, there's nowhere to go but down. So it's it happens to anyone, and it happens to Rocky in this movie. And he's got to remember what, gave him that hunger to begin with. And, obviously his spirit's broken. He probably felt like he was like knocking all these guys out. Like, what's his name? Big Yank Ball. Like, not all these guys on their fucking ass out there. Like, think, wow, I'm really great. And it's like, I was there hand baked for you. And he's like, what? I'm not this man. And then he's like, and then he runs into Mr. T, and it's like, that's the man that you were.
Yeah, that's very true, John. That's right. Days was handpicked. Oh, there's gonna be some good impressions tonight, mate. But yeah, exactly. I've actually lost my train of thought now. What I was gonna say there, thinking about Mick. But yeah, you're 100% right. When you think about the sports analogy, a lot of people say, especially in boxing, getting to the top's the easy part. It's staying at the top. And the thing about it is that, there was a boxer, I can't remember who it was at the minute. It may have been Marvin Hagler, I think it was. And or it was one of them guys, or Hearns, and around that time in the 80s, the middleweights, the great super middleweights. They said it's hard to get up running at 5 a.m. in the morning when you're lying in silk sheets. And that's what happens when you're like Rocky, when you're like Clubber Lang, when you're like Apollo Creed, where you see where he came from, right? You come from poverty and you come from nothing, and you're starving to death every day. You work hard. And as you say, you've got that grit and determination that I have the tiger to win, to defeat the obstacle in front of you, or the man in front of you, no matter how good he is. That heart, that determination gets you over the line. And when you lose that, then it's pretty hard to get that back. I mean, if you're taking a beating and you've got, $10 million in the bank, do you really need to pull yourself off the canvas?
Not really, right? You're living good. I mean, he's got a golf cart to drive him around, before they have their Wheaties in the morning. So this isn't the guy living in the
Yeah.
slums in Philadelphia, waking up and running up the stairs. Now he can take his motorcycle up the stairs now.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah, and that's basically what the movie's about. It's about how Rocky has to cope with this newfound fame, and it does happen to a lot of fighters. It happens to a lot of fighters in real life, where you see that, you see that their obligations to the sport when they become famous or they become a champion, then a lot of their training goes by the wayside. And in a lot of ways, their team does try and protect that asset, and they do then get accused of actually not fighting the best to hang on to that fame. And then when they do actually come up against somebody really half decent, or as you say, is hungry, then they really they come up against it, and that's when they usually lose.
Yep, and I also think another big theme in this movie is like kind of like through everyone in life. I would say, at least I know I've experienced this. Afraid to lose what you got, like what you've earned, like
Mm.
because if you've been down there and you've eaten, like you said, had that struggle. Once you hit a certain point, you're afraid to go back down. Like it's just, I think we've all, even no matter what it is we get in life, you're afraid to lose what you've earned.
Yeah, I think it's only human nature as well. I think I don't know if it is a great analogy for this movie when Rocky says that about he's got Adrian, he's got the kid. He says he gets in the ring, he gets busted up, he doesn't care. Now he's got them. For me in the movie, that's more of an excuse for Rocky. It's a convenient excuse, but you are 100% right. There is a lot of people as you get older, you reflect maybe it's some of the crazy stuff you've done when you were younger, when you were more reckless, and you maybe look back when you get a bit older, and like you say, maybe you have certain things to lose, and you go, I wouldn't do that now.
Yeah, not with the life I've built. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't risk it. So,
Yeah.
But I always thought it was a good message of the movie. That's a great, great speech that we'll get into with him and Talia Shire, who's just phenomenal in this movie and very different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, are you happy to win the production at the
I
moment?
am.
Because I mean, I've you've given your thoughts on the movie. I totally agree with you. I'll just finish up with just saying, absolutely, my initial thoughts is that I absolutely love Rocky 3. It was one of the movies that I kind of grew up watching, John. I remember like seeing it was on television all the time in the 80s, and then we had it on VHS. We had Rocky 3 and 4, and they were the two I always watched because they were the most action packed, the most exciting. And then it got to a certain age when I was a teenager, it was kind of came across very cheesy, and you could laugh at it. But now, as an adult, yes, it's still cheesy and there's still very funny parts. I actually think a lot of those parts are intentional by Stallone.
I think so. I think some of that stuff's written. I mean, obviously the one with Paulie, where it's like can he swim with a name like Rock? Like that's in the script.
Yeah, even like listening to what the commentators are saying about the fighters,
Oh yeah.
it reminded me of like Kent Brockman in The Simpsons, like some of the things he would say. That to me, that's all intentional. So now I look back and when I reflect on the Rocky series, and I'm a fan of every one of the movies, like this one I rank fairly highly for me. I don't know where, but it is fairly high for me on that list because it doesn't get enough credit, I think, for the emotional depth that it does have. It's kind of overshadowed by a lot of like the action and the fast pace and the music and and the characterizations. But I think there's a lot of drama there as well. Maybe not as gritty as the first two, but it definitely does have that in there. So this is definitely one that's been living with me for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, one that's always been around. I can say that honestly, that the Rocky franchise has always been around, like in the background for me too, just because, like I've told you in the past, and told you guys in the past, like my mom's a big fan of the Rocky movies. Actually, just texted my aunt yesterday because a lot of excitement around I Play Rocky coming around on
Yes.
Long Island here, because actually the guy who plays Rocky's from Islip, which is on Long Island. So
Oh, is he?
yeah, he's from Long Island. They were did a story on him how he was playing high school ball just a year ago at Islip high school over here. So pretty freaking cool, living in the same Suffolk County as us, and like now he's going to be playing Sylvester Stallone, and so my family's just big Rocky people. I was texting my aunt that we were
Brilliant.
doing this show, and I told her like I really like the '80s one, and she's like I like the 3 and 4, and she's like my husband was my Uncle David, similar name to you. He likes Rocky 1 and 2 more, like the more,
Yeah.
like that pacing and like, the underdog story and the more grittier versions. And, I think that's the thing about the Rocky franchise, because technically, I don't think the door's been closed on it with Creed. They're still going, and it's going to be 50 years. I mean, it is 50 years.
Well, it's the 50th anniversary this year of the
Mhm.
original Rocky, which is crazy to think. We had messaged privately earlier in the week about Stallone just turned 80 last week, which is phenomenal, and I can't believe that that man's 80 years of age, and he's looking great for his age. He sounds brilliant. He's still with it, and he's still making movies, and he's doing television shows, and he's got a book coming out later this year. I've got it in pre-order. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, the Rocky series means a lot for people. I think it really does mean a lot for a lot of people. It's just as you say, it's that whole kind of like underdog story, winning against the odds. No matter where you come from, what background you come from, if you believe in yourself, as they said in that trailer for I Play Rocky, it can make a difference. And I seen that trailer and I thought it was phenomenal. And the only problem is that I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I know that Stallone doesn't really have anything to do with the Rocky franchise anymore. I don't think this has been made with his with any input from him. But it still looks phenomenal. I'm really excited for it. And the thing about the franchise too, John, is that I feel as if it's got something in there for everybody, because the first movie to me is also a love story, and it's about self-respect. It's not necessarily about him winning, beating Apollo Creed. It's about him winning the respect of the people in his town, the people around him, his girlfriend, his friends, his trainer. That's what it's about. It's not about becoming this superstar fighter. That's more what the second and third and fourth one was really more about.
That is true. That's what makes Rocky an all-timer, and why that franchise continues to live on and
Yeah.
resonate. Even the first film still resonates with new people every day.
Yeah, no, 100%. And going into the production here, so this movie here had a budget of $17 million.
Not bad, not bad. And this is also the first film that United Artists was merged with MGM, which we discussed on a previous show. I couldn't remember where I said that they were on James Bond. I was just saying how like they were sold off, but
Yeah,
turns out like they just merged with another company, and that's why United Artists was able to continue on.
right. Okay. So Sylvester Stallone only agreed to do a third Rocky movie when he could come up with a good story. So they wanted him to do a third one. And there hadn't been too many threes by then, really, in franchises or movie series. This is one of the first. Of course, you had Goldfinger and you had Planet of the Apes, I think, stuff like that. But
Same year as Return of the Jedi too.
82.
Is it
Is that-
82? Is it 82 or 83 for Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, I thought Return of the Jedi was 83.
Maybe it is 83. Maybe I'm wrong on that. 83. Yeah. So 1 year before Return of the Jedi.
1 year before, yeah. Because even Jaws 3, I think, was 83 as well.
So this starts the 3 train.
Well, I mean, I think they were thinking of a Jaws 3 from 1981 because it was originally titled Jaws 81. Yeah. Yeah. But this could have been, they could have asked for a third one right after the success of Rocky 2. Do you know what I mean? But he says, I wouldn't do it until I come up with a good story. But eventually he titled it Rocky 3. They wanted them to call it something else. And he says it was originally conceived as the concluding part of a trilogy of films involving the Rocky character and supporting players. So this was supposed to be the last one. This was supposed to be a trilogy, like a 3 chapters to one story. That's how he originally conceived it. Involved. That's why you have the same cast of characters, and nobody really knew apart from Clubber.
That's a good point. Everyone else, yeah, it does feel that way. And then I guess if you look at it, like it's, we could have almost had we end the movie technically on a Rocky Creed fight, right? So end all 3 movies like that.
Yeah, I mean, it works well as a trilogy. It didn't have to be another one after this. It's great. If it's a self-contained trilogy, and I seen an interview with him, and he said back in '82, he said, "They said, will there be any more?" And he says, "If there is, it's not going to be part of this trilogy. It'll have to be something else." But money talks, John.
Yeah, and we know that this starts honestly Stallone on his freaking huge train of success where he's making sequel after sequel. Like this is the same year as First Blood. So like I mean,
Yeah.
this honestly you can say like he's on top of the world, Stallone. It starts this where we get 2 more freaking Rambo sequels in the 1980s. We get another Rocky, Cobra, like probably the most successful run where he's like right there. Him and Schwarzenegger are the 2 biggest stars of the 1980s.
Definitely. And of course, as you say, this was written by Stallone, and he described it as semi-autobiographical. And as I say, it mirrored his own life about dealing with fame. And he also returned to direct the movie.
Yeah, which I think is a good choice. Stallone's a pretty damn good director, if I say so myself. I love the way this movie's put together.
So do I. But it's crazy to think that not only was he like having to train his body to look as good as it did, choreograph fight scenes, he also had to act in the movie and direct it.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you know what he was eating while making this movie, right?
What he was eating?
Yeah.
No.
He was eating 10 egg whites a day and toast, and then every 3rd day he would have fruit mixed in, and that was it to give him that lean freaking look.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd read years ago that he lost like 30 or 40 pounds to slim down. And I heard part of the reason he done it was because Mr. T is a very big guy, and he had to make Mr. T look a bit bigger than him.
Yeah, makes sense. I think this is like when I was thinking about this the other day when I was watching Terminator 2, like what's the first image that pops in your head of like Schwarzenegger and like what the ultimate Schwarzenegger at his peak? I think of like Terminator 2 look. That's like that's the Arnold that pops in my head. For me, Rocky 3 look for Stallone is when I think of Stallone. Like that's like the pinnacle of his look. It's perfected here.
Or like I would even think like Rocky 4 or Rambo 2, which came out in '85.
That's a good one too. I mean, he's freaking cut. The hairs. He looks like a movie star.
But yeah, so we have a returning cast for this movie. So we've got Sylvester Stallone as Robert Rocky Balboa, the lovable rogue and recently crowned heavyweight boxing champion of the world. We've got Talia Shire as Adrian Balboa, Rocky's loving wife and mother of his son, Robert Jr. We'll have Burt Young as Paulie Panino, Rocky's friend and dysfunctional brother-in-law. We've got Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed, ex-heavyweight boxing champion and Rocky's former foe. Burgess Meredith as Michael Mickey Goldmill, Rocky's old wily boxing trainer. And introducing to the cast is Mr. T as James Clubber Lang, the Southside Slugger and #1 contender for the heavyweight championship boxing title. So Stallone considered hiring a real boxer for the role, possibly Ernie Shavers or Joe Frazier, but that plan was scrapped once he found out how deadly they were in the ring. So he was going to hire one of these guys, and he got them into the ring to spar with him. And Shavers kind of gave him a bit of a beating, and he thought, it's not going to work. And Joe Frazier headbutted him and cut his head open. So he thought, I can't do this with these 2 guys. So the plan was scrapped once he found, I already said that bit, sorry. The part eventually went to Mr. T after the casting director saw him in a competition on television, America's Toughest Bouncer.
Yep. He like ripped this door off its freaking frame and then he fought in a boxing match. And that was the first time he ever uttered the lines, I don't hate the man, but I pity the fool.
And as far as I'm aware, he was also a boxer called Leon Spinks. He was his bodyguard as well.
Yeah, he was a bodyguard for a bunch of people apparently, and he was hired to do a bunch of other like kind of crazy jobs. And he invented the Mr. T persona. Like that's not his name, but his legal name is Mr. T
Yeah.
because he got sick of people calling his father or uncle or people around him boy. So he's like, now when people refer to me, they'll always have to say Mister. So that's how you end up with the name Mr. T. And he created this whole persona, like with the gold chains, the
Yeah.
mohawk, and pretty much, live the life of Mr. T. And basically gave him the fame that he would have throughout the 1980s.
Well, being a child of the 80s, my earliest memories of Mr. T was as B.A. Baracus in the A Team. I absolutely love that show. I've got the box set and DVD over there. As kids, you went out the street and you played the A Team. I think I mentioned to you before, we had hurley sticks. We used to pretend they were machine guns. And of course, hurling sticks are kind of like bats that we use for one of our national sports here called hurling. Yeah, so I was very aware of Mr. T. Everybody loved Mr. T. And as you say, he had the gold chains and he always said, "I bit it, fool," and I ain't getting on no plane, fool. In that show, he was afraid of flying. But he was great. But by all accounts, the show was actually made for him. It was written for him.
It feels that way.
Yeah, when they seen him in Rocky, they wrote the A Team for Mr. T. And when George Peppard, who played Hannibal, found this out, he wasn't too happy because he was more of a star at that particular time than Mr. T. And he thought it was his show, but it turned out it was actually BA's show, Mr. T's show, and the kids all loved him.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, like, because this guy is like such an over-the-top character. He fits into the 1980s perfectly, and of course, you need like a certain vehicle. He can't just pop up in regular movies. You got to have a character kind of written for him.
Yeah, John, B.A. Baracus, Mr. T, the A Team, but him specifically, he was part of the pop culture of the 1980s. If anybody ever talks about the decade of the 1980s and that want to talk about the entertainment of the decade, you cannot talk about it without talking about Mr. T.
Well, that's why I was saying off camera to you that I do feel like this movie is like a precursor to like what the 1980s would become. Like, a lot of like everything begins kind of here. Like we get Stallone, like I said, who was like 1 or 2 at the box office in the 80s. MTV started 1 year before this, and you have guys like Mr. T and Hulk Hogan who would become like cornerstones of what the 1980s were, and you get some of the looks of the 80s, like because the before this, the 2 movies that were the 1970s that came out in the second half of the 70s, and they feel like the 70s. But this movie feels very much like the 1980s, and it's still early on. It takes a while for a decade to get into like what the decade becomes memorable for, but a lot of that happens in this movie, and it just feels like it's setting up the 1980s perfectly.
Do you know what I also feel as well? And I don't know if it was done intentional, but it kind of feels almost like there's a transition. It's funny enough, I have to say, like the same with Jaws. I feel like there's a transition. You have that first part on the land, and then you have the second part in the water, and they feel kind of different than each other. And the first part feels so 70s, but the second part feels so modern. And I feel like it's the same with this movie, what you're saying about it going from the 70s to the 80s. I feel like that whole first part with Rocky and Mickey and what's happening there feels, I'm not saying it feels like the first and second movie because it doesn't, but it feels like there's a transition there. But it's also a transition for the character and for the fighter as well. So it does feel like you're stepping from that one era into another.
You almost have it literally in the opening credits, going from the recap of Rocky 2 with the the Bill Conti score playing, and to Eye of the Tiger, which becomes one of the greatest songs of the 1980s, which is done over a montage, which the 1980s are known for their montages. So it's almost like the opening credits are transitioning from the 70s to the 80s.
Yeah, that's right. And what was I going to say about that as well? Stallone said as well about that when the first Rocky movie directed was Rocky 2, and he said that he couldn't deviate too far away from how the feel of Rocky 1 was. He had to bring some of that feel in the Rocky 2. He said because it was John G. Avildsen's movie, and it was a simplistic type of way of directing. And because Rocky 2 picks up 1 second after the end of Rocky 1, it had to have that seamless kind of feel. But with this, as you say, there's a montage, time's passing, 3 years passes. He says he was able to do something different. He was able to have fun with it. And give it a different kind of feel. So that's his reasoning for doing it that way. That's why 2, and I've always said that anyway. When you watch 1 and 2 together feel like one long film.
Mm-hmm. It does. It feels like Godfather to Godfather 2 in a lot of ways because it feels like one complete story. It ends with him winning. So now we get a lot of time has passed. That's what a montage is perfect to show us. We get to watch him fight all the big boys like Big Yank Ball. And, it's great. And it just shows like, it's a good way to get into the story.
It is, yeah. But so the movie was filmed primarily in the spring and summer of 1981, running from March to July of that year. Location shooting took place in Philadelphia, Los Angeles, including the beach scenes, New York City, and Las Vegas, which included filming at Madison Square Garden and the MGM Grand Hotel. Bill Conte returned to score the movie, and it is distributed by, as you said, John, MGM UA Entertainment Co.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ready to get into the movie now?
Let's get into Rocky 3, baby.
Let's do it. Just takes time, baby. Just takes time. It'll come. It'll come. So, released on May 28th, 1982 in the United States. Runtime is 100 minutes. Okay, and we first have that MGM line roaring, and then we go into the United Artists logo. Bing, bing, bing. Anyway, so this logo this reminds me of Rocky 3 and Rocky 4.
This is what you think of when you see the United Artists logo. I don't know why, but James Bond always pops in my head first before Rocky.
Is that your one? It's Rocky. It's Rocky for me. So it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically 3 and 4.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah. So we hear the crowd, John. The crowd kind of fades in, actually, the sound of the crowd. And I love how you hear the commentators here. You hear, and now it's Creed coming back. Creed with the left hand. What's keeping these two guys up? And we fade in to the Ring Magazine World Championship belt. The Rocky fanfare starts. And we see that Rocky 3 in yellow just scroll across the screen. So we do. And you hear the commentators again. It's Creed. Now it's Balboa. Now it's Creed. They're standing dead center in the ring, toe to toe. And that's when we fade out and we fade up to Rocky punching Apollo Creed and a replay of the end of Rocky 2. So, as I say, we have covered this. So if anybody wants to know what we said about the end of Rocky 2, just go back and watch the full show.
Yeah, we did a show on that. We did one on Rocky. We'd like you guys to check them out.
Yeah, watch it like a trilogy. And so we see that ending, as I say again, of Rocky and Apollo and him winning the championship belt. And we notice here, but Rocky's speech is kind of condensed. It's not as long as it was in the original cut. They kind of done that too in the start of the second one. They condensed the end of Rocky 1 as well to save time. And then we have this like freeze frame, and it from the end of Rocky 2, and it's kind of zooming into Rocky's face. But instead of going to black, it slowly zooms into Rocky's face, as say, and then fades to black, and then there's fireworks, and that Eye of the Tiger song starts by Survivor.
Yep, which became one of the greatest songs of the 1980s. Do you know what they wanted before Eye of the Tiger? Because this Eye of the Tiger was specifically written for the movie, hence but they actually he tried to license one other song before that.
Yeah, was it You're the Best Around?
That's I did hear that, and I also heard.
I know the other one as well, actually.
Let me see.
Ba-da-dum, dum, dum. The other one, Bites Dust.
Yep.
How it is? By Queen.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it worked out, honestly, because this became a huge, probably still, if you were to ever rank like the 100 best songs of the 80s, how does that not make like the top 5?
Yeah, I love this song. It's absolutely outstanding.
It's still great.
It's amazing. And the thing about it is as well, John, is that I seen a clip of Stallone talking about it. He was being interviewed by someone, and apparently, who was interviewing him? I can't remember who it was. Apparently, he had Ralph Macchio on before, and he said to Stallone, Ralph Macchio says that they turned down Eye of the or give you Eye of the Tiger for, it was supposed to be for Karate Kid, and he gave you it for Rocky 3. Now, yeah, he's obviously got the story round the wrong way. It was supposed to be You're the Best. You're the Best was written, and then they passed on it. And Stallone was like, "What?" He
Mhm.
says he's a Pinocchio. He says, "No, that's not what happened." Stone says, He says, "When I wrote the script, there was a line in it about the eye of the tiger, and he thought that was interesting." He says he brought it to a musician. I think it was the guys in Survivor, and said, "Can you write something to do with the eye of the tiger?" And they came back with this song.
Yeah, well, they wrote a fucking banger, and I love that. Survivor has some good songs, man. They do a lot of good work in Rocky Four, also.
Yeah. Now, apparently, the music. Oh, by the Burning Heart. That's another great song.
And the
Uh,
burning heart
just a,
about to burst.
just about to burst. And it does, and it sounds kind of very Eastern Bloc as well. With a anyway. But apparently, I was reading. I don't know if this is true. The version that's on the start of the actual movie is the demo.
I heard that too. That's apparently true. Which, if you ever listen to the real version, apparently it's a little bit more sped up than this as well. So it's a little more raw. But I mean, either way, or it works.
Yeah, I mean, I like the version in this, and because it has like the tiger roars as well in it.
Yep.
That's not just sound effects; that's in the song. But when they done their final version, I don't think that's in the song. So this is like a demo version, and Stallone just loved it that much. He just fired this one in.
Yeah, and just it works out so well.
Yeah, but world champion Rocky comes up on the screen in lights, and then we go to a montage, John, of Rocky fighting and defending his title. Now, I love how these newspapers flash up on the screen. I like when newspapers when they tell a story.
Yeah.
And it says Rocky wins first title defense. So his next fight is against Joe Zach or Chak at Radio City Music Hall. That's in New York, isn't it?
I've been there a few
Have you
times.
been there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a couple years ago, I went and saw a live recording of the Always Sunny in Philadelphia podcast. Actually, it was there, so been there a couple of times. Yeah, the
That's not the original, though, is it?
original what?
Radio City.
I'm pretty sure that is. It looks like the exact same. Like I've walked up to it on that angle that you see in the movie.
Right. See, because I thought I could be wrong. Was there not one down where they built the World Trade Centers, and then the Demolished it and built the World Trade Centers there in the 70s?
I mean, it could be, but this would be the 80s. So I think this
Yeah.
is.
So that's the new one then. Yeah, that will
Yeah,
be.
if there was one before that, I'm not honestly too sure of. So you could be right about that. I just know that that's the one that I've been to.
Yeah. No accident. That looks good. Looks good there. So he disposes of Joe Zack, and that name Zack, by the way, I think that's his Stallone's wife's name,
Oh,
maiden name.
okay. A nice little homage to her.
Sasha, who
Mm.
is actually in this movie. I'll point her out when we get there. Unless you probably already know, do you?
I knew she's in here, but you're gonna have to point her out where she was.
Yeah. So, but we see Paulie drinking, seemingly getting jealous of Rocky's success. And then we move on to his next opponent, John, who is Big Yank Ball.
Played by Big Yank.
Big Yank. Big for short. Now, a bit of trivia here. I had the 2006 Rocky game, which came out in the round when Rocky Balboa was released. It was for the I think it was like the mini PSP or the PSP or something.
The PlayStation Portable, the one you held in your hand.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it had, and when you were playing as Rocky, you had to work your way up the ranks, and you fought all these fighters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like once you beat the one, you next one who you fight next, Big Yank Ball.
So he's been depicted in a video game.
Oh yeah. All the fighters you see throughout the Rocky series were in this. So they were.
That's awesome.
And then eventually you fought Tommy Gunn on a street fight.
That's where it ends.
That's where it ends. Yeah, so this was at Caesar's Palace, and this is the first time we see Mr. T, Clubber Lang, watching on from the crowd, and he's not impressed.
No, he's not. He walks out at one point.
Yep, that's right. He gets up and storms out when Rocky wins. He's raging. So he is. He's sitting around like, can you not see what I see here? This guy's fighting, easy fights.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah. So we see Rocky jet setting to Europe. And in the London Examiner newspaper, it says Rocky KO's German champ captures hearts of European fight fans. Oh God. Anyway, so He's also on the front of the Rain magazine, the Time magazine, which is called Tempo in this, Vogue, the official Rocky scrapbook, which was probably like a real scrapbook, but came out for people to buy. The People magazine, and it says Rocky's Revenge, and he's holding Adrian. So I'm assuming here that was maybe a magazine that came out when Rocky 2 came out, and it was like Rocky's Revenge is him beating Apollo.
Yeah, it could be, or it could just be because of what People magazine is, which is just like a supermarket tabloid. Like there could be just some kind of bullshit story in there.
Yeah, and see him on the front of Newsweek, and then Inside Sports flashes up on the screen, and it says Rocky ready for his 6th title defense. So, so during this montage, John, we also see Clubber fighting and raising up the ranks. And the newspaper flashes up on the screen. Or sorry, we zoom in the newspaper, and it says Clubber line mods Jaff for brutal 6th straight KO. So he's raising up the ranks as Rocky, is doing his thing. And Clubber's training hard and KOing opponents. And we see Rocky doing advertisements, which he couldn't do in the second movie. He wasn't sophisticated enough.
No, but now he is.
Another newspaper, Clubber line now ranked 8th.
Moving up the ranks.
He is. And Rocky's doing charity work, enjoying life, spending money. He's got a new motorbike, advertising the DeLorean. Cameras, motorbikes, cars. He's on GQ magazine, advertising clothes. He's on the Muppet Show, which apparently was a real episode of the Muppets, which Sylvester Stallone was on.
Yep, and apparently Jim Henson came in and redubbed his line, so instead of saying Sylvester Stallone, he says Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, that's genius, but isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you got him. It's freaking Rocky. Why not use it? I mean, he's like you said, it's mirroring his life. We have him doing these things in real life. Why not?
Yep. So, and then it moves on to him selling his own merchandise. So he's got his fingers in every pie, John, and making lots of dough, and his fame is taking over his desire to fight. You see him out signing autographs, and there's pictures of him meeting the presidents. I think there's one of them with Ford, but there's definitely one there of him with Carter and Reagan.
Those would be the presidents of the time. Would be Jimmy. We could literally transition from Jimmy Carter to Reagan.
Yeah, that's right, because like late 70s and then early 80s. So Rocky's riding high, and this all accumulates in a newspaper of Clubber line win, #1 contender, and him calling out Rocky. Oh, well, Balboa. And Mickey is in the crowd of Clubber's latest fight. Mickey knows, and Clubber singles him out. Mickey looks terrified. He's sitting in the crowd like,
yeah, he's like, that guy will kill it. He'll kill him dead.
You kill him to death within 3 rounds. But you see him, he's got the wee binoculars, and he's like, he can't believe what he's seeing. And Clubber's like, you hear that, old man? You tell Balboa I'm coming for him. Nobody can beat me. You tell him that. He says, he's next. I'm going to kill him. Nobody can stop me. You tell Balboa that. I'm coming after him. You tell him. So he's standing pointing at him outside the ring, and Mickey's just frozen in fear, and Mickey doesn't tell him because Rocky doesn't know who the fuck he is.
No, until he shows up, he has no fucking idea. This guy's not Mick's doing all the legwork. That's why he's picking out all his matches, and fucking Rocky's just going over here being Rocky. He shows up to the fights, and then he does like you said, he's just showing up places, taking pictures, kissing babies, and signing autographs.
Yeah, and his lovely tailored suits.
Yep. He's looking better. Talia Strier's looking better.
The hair's looking great. You know what I mean? He's lost a bit of weight. He's looking, everything's going great for him. And Mickey, you're right. Mickey's scouting and kind of saying, stay away from that guy. Pick this guy over here. We'll fly to Europe and fight that bum from Germany.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to fight this guy. We'll take Big Yank over there.
yeah, Big Yank ball, because he's probably just a ball. And
Butterbean.
Like Butterbean. Although Butterbean could punch, but like, do you ever see like when the montage show where he knocks the German champion up, he's helping him up and hugging him and all, so it's
he's having a good time. It's light. He's like dancing in the ring after the fights. He's like, like it's not really like a big deal.
Yeah. like bowing over it all. Yeah, I'm the
Yeah, he's
champion. So
bowing.
he's not really getting pressed,
No.
Um, so cut the television screen of Clubber after his latest fight, being interviewed by the press. I want a shot at the title. If Balboa has the guts to meet me in the ring or anywhere else. So we see Paulie is sitting in the bar watching this. And this is one of my favorite lines here, John.
Oh, I wonder if it's one of mine too. I have one line from the scene written down. I want to see if it's the same one.
Do you want to say it then?
I don't know if it's the same line though, but Paulie says it to the bartender. Is that the line you have?
Oh no, it's before this. It's Clubber on the TV, and he says, "I live alone. I train alone. I'll win the title alone." So I'll let you say that then when we get there. Since it's one of your favorites. So I don't step on your toes. But so Clubber seems to think Rocky's ducking him.
Yeah.
He
kind of is. It's just not his fault.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's more dialogue, or if you listen to it on TV about him saying he's ducking me, he's saying that on the TV, like, and you hear him saying he's kept me waiting 3 years. He's raging. He says that a few times throughout the movie. He's like, "You kept me waiting 3 years." That's why he's bloody raging. And we hear the sports broadcaster saying, "You have to wait." As Rocky's a busy man. He's a busy man. After defending his title for the 10th time, he's agreed to take on the World Wrestling Champion for charity. And you hear the anchor on the television saying, "He's a true sportsman."
True sportsman.
He's a true sportsman. So Rocky's getting all this kind of like, he's getting lauded over. Look how great he is. Isn't he wonderful? His life's so perfect now. And this isn't raising Clubber, but it's also annoying Paulie. And he gets up to leave. He's not impressed. And the barman tells him to give Rocky his best.
And this is where Paulie says, I've been coming here for years. Why don't you ever give me your best, Paulie? Give Paulie your best. And just all fucking drunkenly stumbles out of the bar.
Yeah. And he also says, once.
Just once.
Give me your best once.
Because he feels like he's living in Rocky's shadow. So, he's just super jealous. Rocky calls him out on his shit once he comes and picks him up from jail and just says, "You're nothing but just a lazy bum."
Lazy bum. But like one thing I actually like about Burt Jones' performance too, because he's seen, like, I don't know anything about the personal background here, and I'm not saying anything bad about Burt Jones because I thought he was absolutely brilliant. He seemed like a really brilliant person. And he was brilliant in these movies. And Rocky series wouldn't be the same without Paulie, without a doubt. It's like without Adrian, it's not the same. Even without Apollo to a certain extent, even though he's not really in the fourth or fifth one. But to lose Mick, I feel like it lost a lot as well. But he slimmed down. He was slim in the second one, and it kind of worked because Rocky got him the job working on the dock, and he stopped drinking, and he was happy with his life, and that's all he wanted the first movie. He was raising at Rocky, that me work for Gazzo, and then he gets in the job in the second one. But in this one here, he's put a lot of weight on. He's fatter than what he was in the first movie, and of course the character is heavily drinking now as well. And as you say, he's kind of living under the shadow of Rocky. Maybe in the bars where he used to frequent, people when he walked in would say, "Well, Paulie, how are you?" Now they're saying, "Well, Paulie, how's Rocky?" Even though Rocky probably hasn't set foot in there in 3 years.
No, and he wouldn't. He definitely wouldn't. So they're just like, "Oh, we love you." That's because the town loves him now. And it's like, so anywhere Paulie goes, they're always gonna, just kind of rope him in with Rocky. "Oh, that's Rocky's brother-in-law. Make sure you give Rocky my best." And he's probably like, "What about fucking Paulie?" And it's making him jealous, and the jealousy leads to him drinking, and he stumbles back into the kind of shitty person that Paulie is.
Yeah, and on his way out, he sees a poster of Rocky standing like that, and it says below it, "Season of Victory." So we cut the Paulie walking down a busy sidewalk. See where I said sidewalk, John?
Yeah, you like the score here? Because I love it's like a western-y kind of score. He's like a drifter.
Yeah, and it's really busy. Like there's some dodgy people about, and he goes into an arcade, and he's seemingly amused by all this like technology. He's laughing, but then he sees a Rocky pinball machine, and I love his face in this. Do you see his face when he's kind of looking? He's like,
where he's like all just fucking furious about this. Like
Yeah.
he's enraged because now he got the, give Rocky my best. He saw the poster and now he can't even go in here. He sees the pinball machine. It's like just being rubbed in his face.
Yeah, and then he just throws a liquor bottle at it and it smashes it.
Yep.
And we fade at the bars and a cop open in a jail cell and Rocky steps forward into frame. And he's there, as you say, we were saying there about his nice coat and his nice hair and all, and he sees Paulie laying there in a drunken sleep, opens his eyes. I've been in that position a few times.
Just coming out of the stupor.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rocky's came the ball to bail Paulie out. And we cut to the next scene, and Paulie's hostile towards Rocky. He say, Rocky's like, "What I do?" And Paulie's like, "What'd you do?" "Nothing." He says to him, "For yourself? Oh, nice. You fixed your face up nice, handsome, nice clothes. What'd you do for Paulie? Anything? 3 years? Did you give me a job? This? You give me a lousy, stinking XX watch."
It's a nice watch.
Well, obviously, it's supposed to be a Rolex, isn't it?
Yeah, but he can't say it.
Yeah, but they couldn't say Rolex. And he actually he takes it off and throws it. And when Rocky goes to pick it up, he kicks it away. And he says, "I never kept good time anyway." And I love this. Johnny says to him, "Who fixed you up with your first woman? Me, Paulie?" And Rocky says, "She was pregnant." And he says, "So what?" He says, "You buy a new house, you move Micken." So Rocky tells him he owes himself, but Paulie tells Rocky he's been keeping him down. And that's when you see this line here, Johnny said, Rocky gets all disgusted. He's like, "Down." Kind of tease himself up for this. And he says, "You're like a crazy brother to me. You really are. I'm going to tell you something. And this is coming straight from the heart, Paulie. And I mean this. You ain't down. And you ain't a loser. You're just a jealous, lazy bum."
Which he is.
He is. But see, when he said it, you think he's going to say something nice. He starts off by saying you're not down and you're not a loser, but this is what you are. And he's a friend. He's telling them the truth.
You got to be honest with him because, I mean, listen, you're watching this guy throw his life away regardless. Like, I would have cut Paulie loose years ago. I mean, this fucking guy, he just ruined so much shit. Even in this movie, he, like, I don't know. I'm like, at some point, like, I wouldn't have brought him with us to fucking, like, because he gives him the job. But I wouldn't take him with us to go to the freaking park to train with Apollo. I wouldn't bring him at all because this guy's just saying the craziest stuff. I'd be like, "No, you're not. Go back to Philly. Go home."
Yeah, and he didn't want to be here anyway.
Yeah, he didn't want to be there.
Yeah, I know you've always said that about Paulie. I've had a wee bit more kind of.
You're a little bit more forgiving to him. No, that piece of shit's gone.
Yeah, yeah, just because I think I grew up watching the movies and I like him. Do you know what I mean? But I think you could be 100% right. But like, yeah, he's being honest with him. He is. I've always felt like they're like brothers, which is weird.
They are.
Marries his sister, but anyway, but they are kind of like brothers that grew up together. Because he says them in this scene as well. You remember the guys out in the street who used to laugh at you? I used to put those guys out for you. And Rocky says they laughed at both of us, and he's like, "No one laughed at me."
Yeah, but he lives in a delusional state, obviously, Paulie.
Yeah, which tells you that Paulie used to stick up for Rocky.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. Paulie always kind of put a little bit of pity on Rocky, but it's like Rocky also put a little bit of pity on Paulie too, and it's just like they were kind of like before the events of Rocky, they were probably they were both losers, and that's what they are. Rocky's a little stupid, Paulie's a drunk, he's a little heavy. They were kind of like tailor made for each other, and then obviously now Paulie feels like Rocky's pulled so far ahead of him, and he probably never thought he would.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I think there's a line in the first movie where he says, "What do you see in my sister?" And he says, "She fills gaps." She's got gaps, I got gaps. So it's the same with our friendship. They're friends because Paulie fills gaps and he fills gaps, but they're kind of on two different paths at the minute, And the thing is, Rocky's there through hard work. Yeah, I mean, he had Paulie as a friend to support him, but he's doing what he has to do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to do some stuff by yourself. Yeah, he's one thing for helping our friends. It sounds like he's helped you out a couple of times, but it's what have you done for me lately with Paulie?
Yeah, that's true. And he says, "Okay, I'm going to break your mouth." And he tries to hit Rocky, but Rocky takes it on the arms. He slips, he moves, and then an exhausted Paulie asks for a job. And he says, all you had to do was ask."
Yeah, he kind of makes like a face and everything. I love that. Like, kind of
Yeah.
end the scene like on a, they're friends. You got it out, right? You're good now. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, because he knows Fenrir, like, if he wanted to knock Paulie out, he could do it with one
Easily.
punch. Yeah, and he knows, like, he pities him more than anything. He knows, like, I love how when he comes in, he says about my sister not here. He's looking for attention. Was my sister not here? And Rocky says she doesn't know about this, Paulie. So in other words, I'm not gonna have her worrying about you.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't need to worry about what you're doing. I just came down here myself, did a favor. He probably knew the cop.
He probably did. Yeah, probably give him an autograph.
Yeah, exactly. Probably gave him all autographs. Like, here, it's my drunken
Yeah.
brother-in-law, and they're all probably like, "Yeah, we got one of those too." So
Yeah, yeah, and he's like, "I'll do that police charity ball next year for you."
and it's Rocky. He's got that pull in that town, so he could do it.
Yeah, he's Philadelphia's favorite son. But I love how Rocky then humors him, but he's like, "You punch really good," and he's like, "You think so?" And he's like, "Car costs a lot," and he says, "A few quid," and he says to him, "You got a spare one?" And Rocky kind of makes that face again and like slams the door. It's like,
Yeah, this fucking guy never stops.
he wants a car now too. But as you said, there we cut the Balboa residence, and it's night. And Adrian saying, "Any trouble with Paulie tonight?" And Rocky says, "Nah, nothing unusual."
Yeah, which it probably is.
Nothing unusual. Just, which, if she heard it, she'd be horrified. But he's just like, yeah, it's just fucking Paulie. Jesus.
Yeah, he probably knows him better than she does.
Yeah. And so Rocky and Adrian's in bed, and he's teaching her how to sing "Take You Back." Do 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 do. Bit of a cheesy scene, but
Very cheesy.
isn't it? But look, I think it's just showing that things are going great for Rocky. He and Adrian are still very much in love, and he's on top of the world.
Yeah, exactly. You got it all.
Yeah. So fade into City Youth League benefit, Battle of the Champions, Rocky Balboa versus Thunderlips. So Rocky's in the ring with Mick. Adrian and Rocky Jr. are in the crowd, and Mick's questioning Rocky's sanity and fighting a wrestler. So this is the first we see of Mick in this movie, for this movie, not the end of the second movie at the start. And he says, "I've seen wrestlers as big as dinosaurs. You ever fight a dinosaur, kid?" And Thunderlips starts to enter the ring. And we see Paulie is now part of Rocky's team. And he says, "Why are they carrying him?" And Mick says, "He's walking."
Yes, played by the immortal Hulk Hogan.
In the flesh, baby.
Oh my God.
It is. And it's just running in my head what I was going to say earlier about him losing a lot of that weight. Rocky Marciano was heavyweight champion. He was like 180 pounds or something like that. I think that was like the weight you had to be. I think it was around that. Rocky in this is described as being 202 pounds, 201 pounds. I think the actual, now I don't know when it changed, but the actual minimum weight to be a heavyweight is 120 pounds. I think.
Really?
Yeah. So as I say, obviously heavyweights have got bigger over the years.
Yeah.
But there must have been maybe 180 when this movie was made. Because I mean, Stallone's not that big. He's only 5'10", 5'11". Although Mike Tyson was 5'10", 5'11", but he was like 220 pounds. He was on it. But you even hear later on in Clubber's close to like 240.
He's a bulldog, man.
Yeah. So Mick wants to call it off, but Rocky tells him it's for charity, and Thunderlips enters the ring. The ultimate meal versus the ultimate meatball.
Yeah, and I mean, perfect casting here of Hulk Hogan before Hulkamania, because Hulkamania wouldn't become a thing for like until after this movie. And honestly, you can thank Rocky 3 for Hulkamania, because Hulk Hogan was recommended to Stallone from Terry Funk. Hulk Hogan was kind of a star, not really anything too big at the time. And actually, he says that Vince McMahon Sr. fired him for going to do this movie because he didn't take jobs outside of the business. But because it made him an even bigger star, his son, Vince McMahon Jr., hired him back. And for a while, he even used "Eye of the Tiger" as his entrance song until they went to Real American. But he became the biggest wrestling star, probably still to this day, of all time. And I think you owe a lot of that to Thunderlips and Rocky 3.
Yeah, again, child of the 80s. I wasn't a massive. I mean, I feel like wrestling really hit its peak in the 90s. I could be wrong. I'm not the
Yeah,
biggest
that's why I'm wearing the
wrestling
DX
fan.
hat.
Oh, is that what you've got on there? Now, I'm not a big wrestling fan, but
Mhm.
in the 80s, I was aware of wrestling, and there was wrestlers called like Big Daddy and stuff like that. But to me, the first real wrestling superstar was Hulk Hogan. Everybody knew Hulk Hogan. He was a brand in his own.
Mhm.
So yeah, and looking back at this is where it kind of really where he kind of really took off after this movie. And I was watching an interview with Stallone promoting Rocky 2 in 82 in Rocky 3 in 1982, and the presenter was like, "So who's this guy?" And totally oblivious to who Hulk Hogan was, didn't know who he was from Adam. And I'm just like, that's crazy to think of a time when nobody knew who Hulk Hogan was. And Rocky had to say, or sorry, Sylvester Stallone had to say to him, he's Hulk Hogan. He's like, in the movie, he's called Thunder Lips. And then the guy in the room says, he was great. That was brilliant. He should have his own show. And yep, and Stallone said he should take Thunder Lips on the road.
It's crazy that they actually didn't make a Thunderlips character. Like Hulk Hogan's very different from Thunderlips. In fact,
Yeah.
Thunderlips actually wrestles a little bit better than Hulk Hogan ever did, in my opinion. I was never a really big Hogan fan, but you get why he became a star. I mean, just a few years later, the first WrestleMania, which is really what they said was make or break for WWF at the time. If that didn't succeed, the company wasn't going to succeed. And it was Hulk Hogan and Mr. T in the main event. They were a tag team. So like they teamed up together and they sold WrestleMania along with like Cyndi Lauper being there and everything. So, those two guys came from this movie.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's just I love, as you say, Hulk Hogan was a different character than Thunderlips. I love how Thunderlips here is like he has all these women around him, and
Mhm.
he's like, he's like kissing his arms and all these wee
He's
bit
like a
different.
heel.
Yeah. And he's playing here the pantomime villain. But everybody loves Rocky. I think it's Rocky says, how much do you think he eats? And Mick says 202 pounds.
A great line. And then they announced the weight of Rocky at 202 pounds, and the faces they make at each other like,
Yeah, I know he's gonna eat you.
yeah.
So yeah. So again, Clubber's in attendance. He's in a tux and he's disgusted at the round of applause Rocky gets.
He's just such a hater.
He's looking around him like,
This fucking guy, he really can't move past it.
no, he can't. He's not a happy man. Rocky and Thunderlips square up in the center of the ring. He asks Thunderlips for a Polaroid after but he pushes him away and he says, "You're in real trouble, man." Well, I guess not, breaky. And so Rocky goes over to the corner and Mickey says to him, "Stay away, make faces, move around the ring." So he's like, "Make faces, move around the ring," and Paulie says, "He is the ring."
Here's the ring.
He is the ring. So Rocky thinks this is a bit of play acting, and Thunderlips goes berserk, starts the beating Rocky, and you hear the commentators here saying Thunderlips has gone absolutely berserk, and Mick is in the corner going, "Run for your life!" Did you hear Mick in the background when Rocky's kind of going, "Okay, it's going to do this. How's this?" And you hear Mick in the background going, "Stay away from him. Don't." You hear Matt, like, don't do that. He's
It doesn't
warning
seem
Mick.
it doesn't seem like Mick understands what pro wrestling is. Whereas, like, I think Sylvester or Rocky himself, I think understands a little bit. It's all about the showmanship, but then it comes to pro wrestling, he's not really there going to hurt you.
Well, the thing is that when Stallone was talking about this scene in the interviews, he was kind of like, so Rocky's doing this for charity, and he thinks it's all make believe.
Mhm.
But Thunderlips is like 380 pounds,
90
whatever.
pounds. Yeah,
And he's like, and he wants to show people that Rocky's nothing, so he goes to town on him. So in his version of events here, Thunderlips is actually kind of beating on him. You hear the commentators saying Rocky is really in pain. So, that's his kind of verse. And I think Mick senses that. He's trying to talk him out of it. He's like, "You ever fit a wrestler? Why are you doing this?" Do you know what I mean? But it shows as well that Rocky kind of has no fear, because Adrian asked him in the bedroom, "Are you not worried about this?" And he's like, "Nah," because he thinks, it's just all play acting, but it goes
Yeah.
a bit too far.
Well, that's the thing about pro wrestling is like people always say it's fake. It's set up, but they're still beating the hell out of each other. A little bit. They know how to take a fall and everything, but still, you get thrown around. And I do love the way that Hulk Hogan throws him around. This is my favorite fight in the movie out of the 3 fights. I love this fight.
No way, John. Seriously?
Yeah. I'm a big wrestling fan, and this is
Yeah.
a wrestling fight. I mean, Paulie goes and hits him with a foldable chair and shatters on his back. He's got thrown out of the ring. I love this shit.
Well, I have to say that though. I mean, I think that the fight at the end is the best of the whole movie. But I understand if you're a wrestling fan. This for me is a bit of a slog to get through. I'm like,
really?
Yeah, it's a means to an end.
I love it. I love it. I eat it up. I do. Because it's the difference between boxing and pro wrestling. You can do more. It's more, you can throw them around, do some hip tosses, throw them out of the ring, use some weapons, watch everyone else get beat up. It becomes a brawl, kind of like what the 90s wrestling would become.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is true. But we see Mick's having problems here as well.
Yeah, they set up the heart thing here.
The hard thing, yeah. But I'll just stick these notes here. You've touched on a few points, so I made overlap, John. But it accumulates on Thunderlips throwing Rocky out of the ring into the crowd, and he's like, "Catch me!" And Thunderlips starts attacking the ref, the security. Then he goes into the crowd, and and Rocky asks Paulie to cut his gloves off, and he pulls out this flick knife or this Swiss knife, which is fucking massive.
Yeah. Of course, Paulie would have that.
And he gets back into the ring. I love as well. I don't know if it's just before us where you hear kind of like Paulie saying, "Remember the neighborhood, Rocco." Because it's a street fight now.
Yeah.
And so he gets back into the ring and he calls him back into the ring. And Mick doesn't want him to do it. He's like, "You're crazy." And he's like, "Hey, you, come on, you." But when he gets in, Rocky starts to go to work on him. He's punching his ribs. And as you say, Paulie breaks a chair over his back and he just turns, he growls at him. He's like, "I don't sweat you."
Then knocks him out.
Knocks him clean out. But I love afterwards where he's stamping with Thunderlips' women and they're all bouncing around him. And he's like, "I don't need this." But do you know that Bert, I was about to call him Bert Ward there, Robin. Bert Young, I may have called him Bert Ward earlier, I can't remember. Bert Young actually was a professional fighter and was really good.
I didn't know that. Huh?
And he was trained by Cus D'Amato, who trained Mike Tyson.
Really? Damn.
So he could have beat any of these.
Well, yeah, he actually was probably the only one with some actual real training.
So Rocky ends up putting Thunderlips in a stranglehold. And he punches him, then lifts him and throws him out into the crowd. So Clubber's disgusted and he leaves. He doesn't like that Rocky is actually, he was probably enjoying it when Thunderlips was beating him up. Do you think he was enjoying it, or do you think he was kind of thinking the way maybe Holyfield and Lewis were thinking when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, like thinking, "Oh shit, somebody's done it before me"?
Yeah, probably, because he knows that he can do it, and he wants it. He feels like he's being like shut out, and then Rocky's ducking him, and he's doing this kind of shit right now. And look, now this guy gets to beat up on him. That's what I want to do. And then of course, he sees all the how this is kind of being played out, and he's like, "I'm done." Second fight he walks out of, by the way, paying for a ticket, doesn't even stay to the end.
Oh yeah. I wonder did he get in for free though?
I don't. Maybe he might have. Who knows? But it's for charity. He should pay.
Oh, not so much the try. I'm thinking about when he walked out of the boxing fights. No way promoters.
Boxing fights might be allowed. He might be able to get in for free.
Yeah. Depends who his promoter is. We probably promotes himself.
He seems that way. I didn't see. I mean, he had his trainer, but I didn't see a manager.
I love his trainer.
That's right. You know who's supposed to play his trainer?
Hey.
Morgan Freeman. Well, wasn't supposed to. He auditioned and didn't do well enough. But Morgan Freeman auditioned.
Could you imagine? Now, Clubber.
Club.
This what you gotta do to beat this guy. Take your time. Don't waste your punches. We get out of here.
Yeah, I can't see it. You need someone a little louder.
Yeah, you need that guy. It's kind of like, "I told you, don't waste your punches, Clubber. You're the champ."
Come on, get up.
I know. Yeah. I love that better. There's a bit at the end of the fight. I wrote it down where you think Clubber's winning, and he's just in the corner going, "Yeah." I love it. I want to see a spin-off with Clubber and his team. I think it would be amazing.
They just disappear after this. Like they're gone. That's it.
Yeah, you know what? Like, see when Rocky Balboa come out, and there was like, Stallone's brilliant. He's built up this whole lore around these characters now. I don't know if he had this backstory for them at the time. Like, I read it. I told you that I have a book. It came out around when Rocky Balboa came out, and it went through every movie, and it basically told you the background of the fighters, and it told you that basically the Clubber line was based on Sonny Liston, and he learned to box in prison, and that's why you don't see him in the first two movies. That's why he just arrives on the scene, and he learned to fight in prison, and he rose up the ranks at the start of Rocky 3, and that's how he gets his shot. But there was a lot of talk that he was going to make a guest appearance in Rocky Balboa, and he was going to be ringside, and he was going to commentate on the fight that Rocky was having, and that it changed after Rocky beat him. He became like a preacher, and he changed his whole life around, and he became like a peaceful, and that's where his life was kind of like, that's why he never come back for a rematch again against Rocky. He changed his whole life after the defeat. Yeah.
That'd have been cool to see, because he does just kind of like, he's the co-star of this movie.
Yeah.
He's the big guy, like, Apollo's in all the movies until he dies, but like, that's it. He's just gone.
Well, he disappears. Ivan Drago disappears, and Tommy Gunn disappears. They don't appear in any of the other movies.
Drago comes back around in Creed too.
But that's more Creed. The actual. I know Creed is kind of lumped in with the Rocky franchise. For me, that's something different. But you're right. That was many, many years later, because there was talk, and it might even be a deleted scene from Rocky Balboa where he visits Drago in hospital, and he's dying of AIDS.
Ooh.
Because of the drug.
Yeah, he was shooting himself up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I loved all that. I thought that would have been great to see the Evans come back, but it didn't happen. The contest is ruled a draw, and Thunderlips approaches Rocky. Good match. And Rocky turns around and he says, "Why'd you get so crazy out there?" And Thunderlips says, "That's the name of the game." And so he's a completely different character. And they get the Polaroid. And the bulletin in the newspaper pops up, and it says, "Rocky and Thunderlips raise $75,000 for a youth club."
Nice, those guys.
Yeah,
I love the announcer, by the way, at the end of it when he calls it a draw, and he's like, "We'll see you next year. Thank God."
See you next year. Thank God.
Do you know who he is?
I know he's a famous guy, but I couldn't pull it.
He's the guy that done the painting at the end of the movie. He's the guy that painted that. He's an artist. I can't remember his name though.
Really? So he probably also did the painting, and when they do the Rocky montage of him training, did you notice there was a painting like that that was of Rocky?
Yeah, he done that. If you notice, he's in the second movie when Apollo's training. He's there and he's painting Apollo training.
Really? Interesting. He had a cool voice.
Mm-hmm.
Probably why I got the role.
Yeah. And when he was finished the painting, he went, "Thank Christ." Fade into Rocky spending time with Rocky Jr., reading fairy tales. Rocky Jr. tells him he likes it when he's there. So this is starting to plant the seeds here, John, for him thinking about retirement.
Yep. We spent some time with his son, get some breakfast.
Yeah, well, Wheaties, as you said.
Breakfast of champions.
And it's or is it a Big Kahuna burger?
I would prefer the Big Kahuna burger. That's a cornerstone of any breakfast.
Yeah. So we cut to the dining room, and Rocky's still reading fairy tales to Rocky Jr.
Eat your cereal before it sinks.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you're saying this, because this is the dialogue that I didn't take down. I was like,
you see what stands out to me though, David? Just the fucking just little things he says, jokes.
You see, the thing about Europe is the little things.
It's the little things,
It's the little things. But I'm glad you did, because that means it's good. It's good stuff. But it's just it saves me time writing it down. Yeah. So Adrian and Mick arrives, and she tells him the cars arrived there, and they leave. Paulie minding Junior, and Rocky says, "Don't give him any beer." And I love how Rocky turns to Mick and he says, "How you doing, Mick?" And there's this terrible 80-yard line, which clearly isn't Burgess Meredith saying, "Pretty good." It sounds more like the penguin.
Yeah, well, he was.
Yeah, that's why. I'm just waiting on him quacking on the way out. Quack, 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 quack. So we cut to the Philadelphia steps, where the Abraham Lincoln School Band is playing the Rocky theme, Gonna Fly Now. So John, I guess this is actually in the world of Rocky now.
What do you mean?
So Gonna Fly Now as is the Rocky theme from the first two movies, right? But in this movie, now I can't remember if it's in the first two movies, but in this movie, it's actually part of the world. They are playing the Rocky theme to him.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess
You know what I mean?
I guess it's been invented and kind of intertwined into Rocky. Well, we see that when he's training, he's got an orchestra playing, so maybe they somehow know the Rocky tune. Then that's how they've just kind of made it for him in the world as well. So yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. I didn't even think about that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of like how they have the, when he's watching replays of the first fight. What's Apollo's trainer's name, played by Ted Burton? Todd Burton.
well, his nickname's Duke, but
Duke.
Tony
Yeah,
Duke Avers.
when he was watching the fight and he's got the camera angles of the actual from the movie, like he's got the perfect beautiful filmed camera angles of the fight right behind Apollo's shoulder. I'm like, yeah, I mean Apollo behind Clubber Lang's shoulder. Like, it's like, how convenient, right?
Yeah, but to put it in black and white and then make it kind of like, put a wee bit of green in there, so it seems like somebody stamped with like an 8mm fucking camera.
Yeah, they put some effort in, but I'm just like, yeah, the camera placement is great.
Yeah, well, they do that in Rocky. When they do that in Rocky 4, well, I suppose it's a wee bit different. In Rocky 4, they're watching back their second fight, but it's clearly from the movie, but they intercut it, so it seems like it's on television, right? But it's at least it's away from the ring. It's not
at least a wide shot.
His shoulder. Yeah. But no, it's like the Rocky theme is now in the world of Rocky. It's his theme. Which is what it's like in real life. When people hear it, it's like, oh, it's a Rocky theme, even though it's called Gonna Fly Now. But you do hear that in Rocky 1 when the mic comes down for the MC at the before the fight. Yeah, it's the you know what I mean? So that is in the movie, but the actual theme of Gonna Fly Now isn't. As in their world, but it is in this movie, and you hear it again. You hear them playing it again. I think in Rocky 5 when he comes back from Russia.
That no, at least so you're right. It's just intertwined now into Rocky's whole world. It's part of the Rocky persona.
Yeah. So Rocky's there looking happy with himself. He looked quite smug with himself on stage there.
Looks
you
good.
see, but you see is it Mick says or to Adrian, whatever happened to those quieter moments? And they start laughing, and Rocky turns to them disgusted and goes, shh. So he does, and the music ends, and some crony, I'm guessing this is the mayor of Philadelphia.
It seems like one of those ceremonies he'd be there. Yeah, that's my best guess.
He makes a speech bumming and blowing about Rocky and his inspiration to the city and his achievements. Philadelphia's favorite son, Rocky Balboa. And they unveil a god-awful statue. I thought this statue looks terrible. And Rocky's kind of like astounded by it.
That statue's still there, right?
Yeah, I heard the story about the statue. That's an art museum.
Yes.
At the top of those steps. Yep. And he was going, see, it's not at the top of the steps. He was going to give it to the art museum and they didn't want it. They said it wasn't art.
Nope.
And he went, it's from it's art. It's a proper statue made for the movie. So it's at the bottom of the steps, I believe.
Well, it was moved from there to the Philadelphia Spectrum, which is where like the 76ers and the Flyers play, if I'm correct. And it was moved outside there until 2005 or 2001, somewhere in the early 2000s, where then it was moved back to the museum. But it's really funny that they actually have a statue to a fictional sports star in Philadelphia, which is one of the biggest sports towns in all of America.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But look, it's like when Stallone was inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame, people were like, well, he's not even a boxer. But I'm more kind of like, no, what his movies done for the sport of boxing was phenomenal.
I prefer watching the Rocky fights over actually a real life fight because they're more insane. I mean, like, they're just taking beatings like the whole time. It moves quick. I know you're a real boxing fan, but like I was saying earlier, like I prefer like, the more entertaining versions. Like that's why I lean more towards pro wrestling.
Look, it's like every now and again, a great fight crops up against between two great fighters. But it's like everything you can watch 10, not great fights and then get a great one. Do you know what I mean? It's it's that way. But I think just the Rocky movies, the inspiration that he's done, not only for fighters, for people, but for the great stuff that the movies have done for boxing, I think he deserved it. But I'm biased. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, people train to the soundtracks, and things like that. It gets them in the gym, makes them want to go to the gym to be boxers. So I think he deserves that. And the inspiration it just gives the normal everyday people. It doesn't even have to be like training to do anything. You just pick yourself up. But you said about the Philadelphia Spectrum, that's where is it the fight that the second movie's in? I'm not sure if it's in the same arena in the first movie, but that's where he fights in the second movie.
Yeah, and that's like the little arena that's in Philadelphia, like where like two of the sports franchises play. Where the Eagles play, well, the Spectrum, they don't play it anymore. But at the time, the Eagles played at a different field. The Philadelphia Eagles, the football team, American football team.
Well, one of the great lines in the first movie is Apollo when he's talking about fighting. Is it Mo Green? I think is it Mo Green? You call him? He says, "I'm gonna crack Mo Green like I'm cracking the Liberty Bell." Adrian says the statue's beautiful, and Mick says it really is a teen of beauty. So the crowd is in applause, chanting Rocky. We see a guy who looks like Santa in the crowd as well. Big white beard, sunglasses on, and Rocky takes to the podium and reveals he's going to retire, and the crowd are outraged. No, you hear somebody saying, "You can't do that, Rocky."
I just felt like, how old Rocky is in this movie? They bring it up once.
He's 34.
34. That's how old I am. And this guy's fucking retiring. Like thinking about retiring. It's like, well, I don't get it. I think that's like something that like Mick. Yeah, I get Mick retiring. He's ancient, but like Rocky and then finally later in the movie, Apollo says, "We're too young to retire." I'm like, yes, I've been thinking this the entire movie. Like you guys are not old.
Well,
but I also don't know boxing ages, so maybe you shed some light on that.
Well, this is what I think. I think that we live in an era now where 34 for a sports star isn't particularly old.
Thank God.
Right. Yeah. Thank God.
You might be too old, but I'm not. You're the Mick in this situation.
I'm starting to feel like I'm telling you now. I might fall asleep halfway through this podcast. You'll have to wake me up, John. But I think back then, early 30s was old for a sports star. But I still maintain you're at your peak in your late 20s. I don't care what anybody says. You've seen fighters like, Lennox Lewis, although he's more of a 90s fighter, he went into his mid 30s before his age really started to catch up with him. Klitschko fought till he was near 40 and dominated. Do you know what I mean? Anthony Joshua was in his late 30s, I think, mid to late 30s. The same with Tyson Fury. They're still fighting. They're still top of their tree. If you look at smaller fighters, they say smaller fighters burn out quicker. So the likes of your Joe Frazier's, your Mike Tyson's, your Rocky Marciano's, all retired, and Tyson fought on too long. But they retire, were at their best in their late 20s, mid to late 20s, maybe even early 20s, you know what I mean? And by the early 30s, they were done. They were done, right? Muhammad Ali, again, had like 2 careers, but he was at his best in his early 20s, went too long. Shouldn't have been fighting when he was in his mid to late 30s. Should have retired. So around this era, that kind of age to me is possibly the time to retire. But you've got to understand too as well is that, and in the context of the story, I suppose, John, the seeds are being planted in his head to retire. Yeah. Mickey wants him to retire. Right, the seeds are there. He wants to be with his family. Mickey knows. We'll soon find out. He says, the fight with Apollo should have killed you. It was my job to keep you fighting and to keep you healthy. He's had 10 title defenses. He's made a lot of money. He's going out while he's on top. He doesn't want him fighting clubber.
Yeah, makes sense.
So there is that as well. I mean, I have to say, we're doing this podcast the day after one of my footballing heroes passed away yesterday, Kevin Keegan. Rest in peace. Absolute legend of the sport of football, soccer. And they were saying yesterday he retired at 33. And the reason he retired at 33, now there's footballers who can go on. The World Cup's just passed. Messi's 37, 38. Ronaldo's 39, right? Past their best, but Messi was one of the best players of that tournament. of course, one of the all-time greats. Kevin Keegan is one of the all-time greats. Retired at 33. Nobody said the reason he retired was that he was an attacker. He picked up the ball and he was two or three paces in front of the defender, right? And the defender caught up with him and overtook him. Yeah. And he knew
that's a good sign.
that's when he knew, I've got to retire, because he knew that a few years ago he would never have caught me.
No, time catches us all.
Yeah. So I feel like, it's kind of different for everybody, but I do feel like we're in a different era now with sports science and the way people look after themselves and they have personal trainers and everything else. I think for the era this movie sat in, I think it's perfectly fine. I think for the purpose of the story, obviously, it's reasonable. But, we all know that does Rocky retire after this? He goes on and he fights till he's near 40.
That's true. He does. He would keep going.
Clubber emerges from the crowd. Get up while you can. He says, don't give this sucker any statue. Give him guts.
I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine. Why don't you get the hell out of there?
And Rocky looks on like he's never seen Clubber before. And it starts this back and forward between Clubber and Rocky. And Mick ends up saying to him, why don't you get the hell out of here? And I love how Clubber has no respect for anybody, even an old man. He's even disgusted as much with Mick as he is with Rocky, because he says to him, shut up, old man, I ain't going nowhere. And Clubber accuses Rocky of ducking him. He says they don't want a man like me to have the title. So what do you think that means, John? A black man? A man who's been in prison? Although we don't know that.
Well, I think it's a combination of both. I mean, now you shed light on the prison thing, but I thought like a black man. But, we've had other black champions before that, so I don't know. But obviously like Apollo. But, I think like that, or just like he just doesn't fit the archetype of a champion. Like, even if you compare him to Apollo, like he's not clean cut. He's a little rough. He's got the earrings in. He's got the mohawk. He doesn't speak proper. He's a rabid dog.
Yeah, he's a bit crazy. He's crazy. You're right. The whole persona, because he says about Rocky's persona, they want a guy like that there. It's persona. He's clean cut. He's a good image. He's inspirational to this whole city. They don't want a guy like Clubber to be the champion. And there is some of that train of thought sometimes from certain quarters in the sport, I think. And Clubber tells him he's ranked number one. And Balboa's fighting setups. And that's when Mick steps in and says, you're a disgrace to the sport. And Clubber says to him, shut up, old man. You're the one that knows where they come from. So he's saying to him, you know where these fighters are coming from. You're a guy in with them.
And he's right. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's, Clubber's such a great villain. I love him in this movie. After watching it again, John, I think he's my favorite villain of the series. But everything he's saying here is right.
Yeah, I think, well, he's the only one who's like, I mean, obviously he's the villain, but he's more of like a villain representing Russia. Whereas like, Clubber Lang, he's got the mouth. Drago has no mouth. He says a few lines through the movie. He's just kind of like a machine. Yeah, I do think that Mr. T's Clubber Lang is the best villain in the whole franchise, because Apollo, he starts out as a villain, but you always kind of understood him. You're like, this guy, he's angry, man. He's just an angry person.
Apollo, as the movies evolve, you grow to love Apollo because he ends up having more depth, whereas Clubber doesn't have much depth. He's just a horrible person, right? And as you say, that whole back and forth, the quips he says is brilliant. Drago, and we'll get to that one day. I've got my thoughts on Drago, but you're right. You're 100% right about what you're saying about him. Drago kind of is a victim as well, because you see that at the end of the fourth movie. And he had the contrast Clubber. You couldn't have another Clubber.
Couldn't do it again. Yeah, had to do something different. Or otherwise you're just kind of having the same thing over and over. Yeah,
so you have to have a bit of a different spin on it,
Yeah.
So Clubber taunts Rocky in their fight, but Mick shouts he's getting no shot, and Rocky tells Mick he wants to fight him, but Mick tells him he can't do it. He can do it without him. It's finished. I'm finished. I don't want no more of this. It's over with. And Clubber then picks on Adrian, and he says,
Hey, woman, listen here. Since your old man ain't got no heart, maybe you'd like to see a real man.
Hey, woman,
Hey, woman.
Hey, woman. Listen here. Since your old man ain't got no heart, maybe you'd like to see a real man. I bet you stay up at night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man.
Fucking great.
Rocky goes for Clubber, and the police have to keep them apart. So yeah, that's what finally got the Rocky. You don't talk to Adrian like that.
No, you don't do that. That's it. And he knew that. I mean, I really think that he's not a fucking moron. I think he really kind of knew like exactly, okay, it's not working talking to these two. Let me try the woman. And he got defensive right away and was like, all right, that's it. You want me? You got me. You know?
Yeah. See what he says, hey woman, and she turns, she kind of pulls her coat all over, hey woman, and that's like questioning again Rocky's manhood.
Yeah, well, exactly. Saying that he can't satisfy his own wife. He's like, she can come over to my place. I don't think she'd want to, but who knows?
I'd be some crack. The whole movie just turned totally different direction, and Adrian's visiting Clubber.
Yeah, we see her that night, like while Rocky's out drinking with Paulie, getting all dressed up, and she's going over to Clubber's apartment, and he's like, "Hey, woman," it's different. Hey, woman, and lets her in. They're gonna have a romantic night out.
It'd be like a replay of the scene in Rocky 1 where he has her over in the apartment. He's like, "Come on over, sit down on this chair. It's pretty comfy. I'll call your brother for you." Starting to sound like Al Pacino now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh God, let's not start Al Pacino. Woman, woman, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment. I'll show you a real Italian.
That's good, Pacino.
Fuck. I know. He wants to start with the Pacino, man. Anyway, let's get back to Rocky. It's going to roll on about 4 or 5 hours at this rate. Back at the Balboa residence, Rocky confronts Mick and why he left. And Mick tells him he's going on a permanent vacation. And Rocky presses him. And Mick says,
because you can't win, Rock. This guy will kill you to death inside of 3 rounds.
And he says to him, this guy's a wrecking machine. And he's hungry. Mick tells Rocky he hasn't been hungry since he won that title. To which Rocky retorts, he's had 10 title defenses, and that's the way Rocky says to him, "You're crazy," and he goes, "What else is new?"
Yes, yeah.
But when he says he's had 10 title defenses, that's when Mick says, "That was easy. Days was hand picked." and Rocky's like, "Setups?" And he says, no, they weren't setups. They were good fighters, but they weren't killers like this guy. He'll knock you to tomorrow, Rock. And Rocky's knocked for 6, Mick explains the beating Apollo gave him should have killed him. And it was his job to protect him. So I really love this scene.
It's great. It's a great monologue, honestly. The you can't win monologue. He does phenomenal work here. I love it. And and you can just see in Sylvester Stallone's acting here that even if he doesn't say it out loud like that, finding out that these fights were basically layups, they hurt him. They kind of right it there killed his pride, kind of hurt his ego.
Really did. And I love how Stallone plays it and wrote it, because Rocky's not going mad like, Mick, why did you do this, blah blah blah. He's just, his heart just sinks, and then he walks over and he sits down on the chair, and the music starts.
Jeez, Mick, why'd you do it?
It's great. And then we have this kind of reconciliation between them, where I love this kind of speech that Mick gives, where he comes over and he sits down beside him and he talks about the worst thing that ever happened to a fighter happened to you. You got civilized. And he talks about how people retire to put horses out the stud, and he hits his leg. He goes, "That's what you should do. Retire." And but Rocky kind of emotionally blackmails him, and it says, "I can't go out like this, I can't go out knowing this, and I'll tell people you haven't bought a new pair of underwear in whatever it was, 4 years or something, if you don't train me." And he's like, "You would, wouldn't you?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so he kind of he says, "Okay, kid, it's your head."
Yeah, convinces him, sways him, and do it one last time. He's gonna be a gym rat.
Yeah. So which is weird. This whole next training scene.
I know.
Uh,
He sets this doesn't feel like him. This feels like what Apollo would do, which is what Apollo did when he was champ.
Yeah. So the kind of mirrors what Apollo was doing in their first fight.
Out of the truck, rock your ropes, out of the truck, clean stuff, get your ropes.
Yeah, but so we cut the hotel. Heavyweight champ trains here daily, and the song "Pushing's" playing. I love this song. People always talk about they talk about the songs in Rocky Four. They talk about "Eye of the Tiger," but this is one that doesn't get enough praise, which is "Pushing." Getting ready for the fight.
Pushing's all right. It's all right.
Every day and night.
I like "Piece of My Heart" from Rambo 2 more from Frank Stallone, to be honest with you.
Yeah, now and you took a words out of my mouth. I was about to say it's Frank Stallone who was the singer on the street corner in their original first two movies, who sings "Take You Back" and movies like that. So we go into our first training montage of the movie. Rocky's training at a hotel ballroom, which I said doesn't make sense.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I love Mick's reaction when they get to him in the ring when he's like, first he's just trying to pump him up like they're in the gym, and then he's just like,
He's too strong. Listen, how the hell can we train in this creep joint here?
he just losing it, like, because they're selling merchandise out there,
Yeah.
they're cutting around. That's where you see the Rocky painting.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and it's just like this is exactly what Mickey said, is that he basically became what Apollo was. He's got the big house now, and he feels like I can take it easy. And it's like I just explained to you what this guy is, and you're just playing it like you're fighting the other 10 guys of the layups.
Yeah, and he says, "Come on, Mick, let's go out in style, okay?" And Mick says, "Don't go out in style, go out in one piece." So Mick wants to go back to the old gym, and in contrast, we see Clubber training hard and training alone. John,
Yeah. There's nobody helping him out. He's just a one-man show.
I love it. He's like, yeah, when he's training.
Oh yeah, when he's doing the curls.
And the girl, here we go. So the girl asking Rocky for a kiss is his wife.
Oh, that's his wife there. Oh, okay, yeah, and
That's his wife.
they show Adrian looking at that, and that's when she kind of turns around
And walks out. Yeah, she's not liking that, the attention he's getting. And Mick says, "If that's the way you're training for Clubber, he ain't gonna kiss you. He's gonna kill you." So Mick's kind of getting into the groove now. He's loving all this himself. And we see Rocky is totally distracted, not training properly, while Clubber's training like a demon. And we cut to the next scene, John. This is what you said here about the band is playing the Rocky theme in the background. And I love how this is like not breaking the fourth wall, but it's becoming like self-aware. Whereas Mick turns and he says, "Shut up back there, can't you? Change your tune."
yeah, pretty much is.
Isn't it? And Rocky finishes his final sparring session, and Mickey tells Rocky he's proud of him.
I love this little moment here as they're zooming out of there, showing how it's empty. It's just them and the sparring guy, and that's it. And tells him he's proud of him.
Yeah, it's that quieter moment that he was talking about earlier. As you say, it zooms out, and you've got the big banner up, like saying "Heavyweight Champion of the World." It's like the end of an era.
It is. It really is. It's the end of their era.
It really is. And he said, and Rocky asked, "What do you think we're going to do when it's over?" And Mickey says, "Join the circus."
Which not a bad idea.
Yeah. If you want to give up boxing, Mr. Balboa, join the circus. So cut the fight night. Crowd's chanting Rocky's name. And in the back, the press are interviewing Rocky and Mick. And Mick says, he's a deadly weapon and he's one of the kind and he's going to do it. So they're confident of themselves, but it all just seems so kind of fluffy and light and kind of like, they're not taking it too serious when they should be.
Yeah, and you cut that with Clubber Lang over there losing his shit more and more with the press. He's getting madder and madder with them.
Yeah, he's pacing back and forward like an animal, and they're asking him questions. He says he's going to do his talking in the ring, and then we cut back to Rocky, and he tells the press he's retiring after the fight. He says this is definitely the last one, and then he says, "I don't know what we're going to do after this, Mick. Maybe join the circus."
The reference.
reference what Mickey said, and Mickey says, "Oh yeah, have some fun." So we cut back the clubber who attacks the camera crew. Told you to get those lights out of my face. And out at ringside with the commentators is Apollo Creed. He says strength is with Clubber, but the world's hardest head is Rocky. And, we cut back and forth here a few times. Apollo predicts Rocky's going to win. And they says, do you really think Rocky hits that hard? And he says, well, what do you think? I'm sitting out here with you. But back in Rocky's changing room, Mick gives Rocky some final pointers. Don't trade with this guy. Take your time. Wear him down. But don't stand toe-to-toe. This punk's never been 15 rounds before. Take him good.
Yeah, it's not bad advice.
Well, I think that is the tactics to beat him, not what Apollo comes up with later.
No, I know. I didn't understand. You got to beat him quick was kind of like their kind of thing, but kind of tire him out. But if you tire him out longer, he doesn't. He wants to knock him out quick. You get him weaker and against the ropes probably if you have better endurance.
Yeah, if you look at like Ali against Joe Frazier, although he never knocked him out, but yeah, you gotta wear him down over the small, quicker fighters. They burn up a lot of energy in the earlier rounds, quicker than the actual boxers. Rocky emerges from his dressing room. The crowds in the halls of press, police. They're in rapturous applause for the champ. As he makes his way through, Clubber is making his way down a flight of stairs. Not well choreographed in the way of the actual movie.
Oh,
you
yes.
have the two fighters coming out at the same time, so they made a mess up there. Usually it's the challenger comes out first. So he comes out with his crew and he's like, "Hey, sucker, Balboa, you bum! You're finished. You're through. You're washed up. I'm the baddest in the world." And Rocky says, "You don't look so bad to me." And I love how he rips his rips his hood off, and he's like, "What'd you say, paper champion?"
Paper champion.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat you like a dog. And Mick screams to get Clubber that night. John, I didn't have subtitles up here. Does he call him an ape?
I'm not sure. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I think he does. So, yeah, well, he says to get Clubber out of there, and pandemonium ensues.
Yeah.
Clubber vows to make Rocky pay for keeping him waiting.
Yeah, he's just all about his time, That's all it is. Is like he wants to finish him fast.
Yeah, keep him waiting 3 years. And there's a scuffle with Clubber, throwing bodies around. One of which is Mick. This is where he throws someone over the bloody railings, and then he says to Mick, "Get out of my way, old man!" He pushes him out of the way. So he does. And anyway, so eventually Clubber tells Rocky he'll meet him in the ring, and when Adrian notices there's something wrong with Mick, and Rocky runs over, "Whoa, what's wrong? Get a doctor!" So they bring Mick into a nearby locker room, and Rocky instructs Paulie to tell them the fight's off, but Mick tells him it's not, and to take him good and get it over with. Rocky turns to Adrian. "What am I supposed to do?" And
just add a little bit more on top of everything else. Already he's got to fight this freaking monster, but now he's got to worry about Mick too.
So he's asked to call the fight off, right, on a whim. So why do you think that is? He wanted the fight. So he's confronted Clubber. It's fear, isn't it? He's like, "Oh shit." It's not so much about Mick. It's more about
Clubber. Well, it's a little bit of both. Like once Mick goes out, like now how is he supposed to stay like on the mission essentially to fight this guy? Like he was already like kind of outmatched,
Mm-hmm. Well, this infuriates Mick, and he says, "What the hell do you mean you don't know what to do? After all these years together, you don't know what to do. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Now get out there and do it."
You gotta get out there.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta get him out there. I don't know. I have a problem with after the fight with Mickey, but before the fight, I understand what he's like trying to do, like get him out there still. But I feel like you call it off, right? When your trainer has like a heart attack right there.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm trying to think of like real life, maybe things that have happened for people to kind of like call fights off. I don't know. I mean, Buster Douglas, when he fought Mike Tyson, his mother died a couple of days before the fight or a week before the fight.
That's
and
tough.
yeah, but they said that he used that. He didn't call the fight off. and he used that as motivation to go out and put on the performance he put on. So, obviously, if it happened on the night. Mika Richards is an ex-footballer who played in England. The night of the World Cup final there at the weekend, he was commentating on the match. He found out that night he was on commentating on the television. He found out that day his father died, and he still went ahead and done the show.
Damn, that's terrible. That's
yeah,
I guess you got to suck it up, right, in your profession.
Yeah. You got to be like Tony Soprano. You got to get over that.
And you got to get over that shit.
but in all seriousness, like, I don't know. It depends. I think it depends. I don't know. I mean, like, Rocky's saying call off, but his trainer's saying get out there and just do it. So he feels as if Mick, he's listening to Mick. I gotta go and do it. But I think that he's calling it off because he's seen how much of a crazy bastard this guy is, and he's like, oh shit, I don't want any more. I don't want any of this actually.
Yeah, well, I get that. You like the layups.
Yeah. So Rocky leaves with Paulie, leaving Adrian with Mick, who's now laying on a table. Cut to black, right? And you just get this feeling that something isn't right. You get this feeling of dread, don't you? I know I do at this part of the movie.
Well, you know it's coming.
Yeah. Rocky's world is falling apart. So he's coming down fast. And pan down to the ring, and Apollo enters the ring, the applause, and the commentators, I love this from the commentators, and there is the former heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed. Still, he looks like $9 million. That's a Ken Brockman line. And he makes his way to Clubber's corner and offers his hand, and Clubber beats it away. Get out of my face. And see Apollo's face. He's like,
Jeez, this guy doesn't even take a break.
Yeah, he's like, what the hell? What have I done? As he said, like, what have I done to this guy? And he says to him, don't need no hairs being messing with my corner, and you better get that bad look off your face before I knock it off. Go on, Creed. Go on. Yeah, he taunts Creed, and Creed just walks away, waves, and he says to him, just like a chicken, you gotta run. And Creed goes to Rocky's corner and asks him to give everyone a prison and drop this chump.
Yeah, I mean, at this, you know what? Their fight kind of escalates into the next one too. Apollo versus Clubber Lang. So yeah, it gives him even more motivation. Let's beat him together, of course, because this guy is just a piece of crap. No respect for anyone.
Yeah, and it's really weird, as I say, and I hate to bring up like race, but you think because they're two black men, and I think that maybe that's what Creed thinks. Good luck. And it's like, even though he's backed Rocky to win because he's fought Rocky, I don't think he really cares either way. But then he sees this from this man. He's like, this man's not wired right. And that's why he's like to Rocky, make sure you beat this guy. But I love, even though, we've got Rocky and you've got Apollo and you've got Clubber, how Creed still has his own persona. It doesn't sound anything like lines. Whereas like he's chump, and he's calling him sucker and fool, and he's calling him chump. So that's very Apollo.
Yeah, he's still got the swagger, the Apollo swagger there.
Yeah. So no pressure, Rocky. So no, not at all. So Rocky's mind is with Mick in the ring because he says to Paulie, "Wonder how Mick's doing." And the announcer introduces the fighters. This is Jimmy Lennon. Apparently, he was a legendary fight announcer. And his son went on to do it as well, Jimmy Lennon Jr., who's very good friends with Mike Tyson.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, well, he does have the voice for it, so I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. It's better than the painter.
Yeah, well, the painter I thought had a good voice too, I'll be honest.
So Rocky and Clubber face off in the center of the ring, and Clubber says,
Dead meat.
And Rocky can't look him in the eye. You see, he's looking down. He won't look him in the eye. He's looking away. And Clubber tells his corner he's scared. You see that look in his eye? He's scared. And Paulie says in the other corner, I'm no trainer. Just go out and kill the guy. Kill him, Rock. I'm sure at this point, this is where Rocky is regretting hiring Paulie.
Yeah, that's not the voice you want to hear before you go out there with Clubber Lang, I'm pretty sure.
That's why you need like a narrator saying, and it was at this point Rocky realized, this is the Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman could have come on and went, and it's this point Rocky realized he fucked up. By hiring Paulie in his corner. Brilliant. So Round 1, Rocky comes out swinging, ignoring what Mick advised him, probably hoping to take Clubber out early. But Clubber fires back, hurting Rocky, and I love how Clubber's like, "Come on, Balboa, maybe weak." And at the end of end of round 1, Rocky staggers back to his corner, bloodied and confused.
Oh yeah, he beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rocky just the whole tactics. I think Rocky just wants to get it over quicker so he can get back to Mick. And
Yeah, his head's
that's
not
what
in
he's
there.
doing.
That's what I
Yeah.
was saying. Like, how's he supposed to go out there with Mick on his mind? And his head's not in the ring, and this guy totally outmatches him.
So look, I think we're both. But I would say that most people are of the opinion, right? I would be of the opinion Rocky was going to lose this fight either way. But if he had Mick in this corner and Mick was fully fit, he may have made a better fist of it.
Might have been a closer fight. I don't think it goes to the decision. I still think Rocky would have lost, gone down and knockout.
So yeah, I still think he would have lost.
But not in
I
the second.
Not in the second. I think maybe it would have 5th or 6th round or something. I think Clubber would have knocked him out.
Yeah, not here. This would have definitely it was like a train wreck. He got him kind of embarrassed.
Oh, 100%. And that's the whole point. It's such a fall from a great height for Rocky.
Just won 10 fights in a row, and now you just got embarrassed losing in the second round.
Yeah. Rocky's saying in the corner, "He's too strong. I can't get him off." And meanwhile, Clubber is saying, "I'm going to smoke him. He's mine." So he's in the other corner. And we have a brief scene of Mick in the locker room. They're going to start CPR. I don't understand why Mick just didn't go to the hospital. They did say, well, we'll get there. But
that's what I was gonna say after this. Is like, it's time is a factor. We have to get him to the hospital. Why has nobody taken him to a hospital yet? Is what I don't understand still. I don't get it. It really makes no sense. Like, you're literally at an arena. Like, you probably have an ambulance there already. Probably the best place for this to happen, because you can get him right to a hospital, and they don't do it.
Do you know what? I'm trying to think here, John. Dude, did they have paramedics at fights at that time? 1981, 82?
I don't know for sure. I was not even alive. You were alive in 81, well, a little bit after this, but you were alive. I don't think you remember much.
At this age now, John, I can barely remember what happened last week. No, but because there was a few controversies happened in the ring. There was a few deaths, happened, and then they started having like ringside kind of like paramedics and stuff, which, you think that they would have paramedics there then. But I'm not sure when that actually came in.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I would think even they would have an ambulance close by. But it's crazy. They had the whole entrances, the fight, him walking to the back, all for while Mick's just still lying there on the bench. They performed CPR. They gave him CPR, and they're like, no one says that's the doctor. That no one says, maybe bring the ambulance in. like it's crazy.
Imagine them saying, "Right, Mick, you're going on the ambulance now." Say, "No, I want to stay here until Rock gets back."
Yeah, time is a factor, but here I got plenty of time.
Something just came to my mind here, and I think about it later on when Mick dies, and we'll get to that. But I'll mention it now while it's in my head. It's not in my notes. Sylvester Stallone was heavily influenced by real life boxers, events, and stuff that happened. He puts it into his characters in this franchise. That's why eventually brings in real fighters in the movie. But one of the people he was influenced by was Cus D'Amato, who I mentioned earlier, was Mike Tyson's trainer. When Mike Tyson was like, 17 years of age, he had an interview, him and Cus made this big speech about saying that people die when they have nothing to live for, and Mike is giving them something to live for, and he's going to stay around and watch him do good. And Stallone puts that speech in Rocky V about Rocky. I get the feeling that now that speech might have took place after 82. That's the thing. But I get the feeling on reflection that Mick dies because he's accomplished everything he's wanted to accomplish and just wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it like that. He seems to go peacefully, tells him he loves him, so.
Yeah. But back to the fight. We'll get to that in a minute. So round 2 starts, and Clubber is taunting Rocky, and Rocky hits him with a big left hook, but Clubber punishes him, and Apollo's looking on in disbelief, and Clubber KOs Rocky, and Clubber is now the new heavyweight champion of the world.
The winner by knockout, new heavyweight champion of the world, Clubber.
Yeah, I told you I knew it.
Yeah,
I'm the baddest man in the world.
Oh yeah, no, that was not a very close fight. Knocked him out in the second round. That's
I
it.
love how Rocky's like up against the ropes, and Rocky kind of looks at him, and then Clubbers just tees him up, and then hits him, and Rocky lets out this big.
He broke him.
I mean, Stallone does an awful lot of these in this movies. An awful lot of
the worst one is when Mick dies.
Well, we're gonna go in that bit. I'll let you do that impression if you want.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I got an impression coming up.
Good man, good man. So Rocky makes his way back to the locker room, and he's informed Mick would not go to the hospital until Rocky came back. And how's you doing? And he tells Mick it was a knockout in the second round. So I like how he says what happened, and he says knockout second round, and he just assumes that Rocky knocked him out. And Mick says we did it, and he goes on to say, "Tell me we did everything right. I did everything right." So in other words, protecting you, that I didn't fail you by putting you in with guys that, you know, passed their best or weren't great. And Rocky says, you did everything right, but we got more to do. And Mick turns to Rocky and says,
I love you, kid. I love you.
And he takes his last breath, and then Rocky's like, Mick!
He goes, just fucking like incoherent, and the fucking squealing and everything that he's doing.
It's weird. But in between all that, he does say, we got more to do. He's like,
we got more to
do. We got more to do. And
they cut the shots of Paulie and Adrian like looking too and all upset, but me, and you know, he's squealing.
And the Bill Conti score starts.
Yeah, the sad score. Yeah, it's terrible till we cut right to the funeral.
I believe it is actually called Mickey, that score. And it does. It cuts to the funeral, and he's Jewish, and they're speaking in Hebrew, I think, and Hebrew or Latin, I'm not sure. Hebrew probably. You see his casket being pushed in, and it says, "In loving memory of Mickey Goldmill, April 7th, 1905 to August 15th, 1981, 2 months before my birthday."
Look at that. You know, you and Mick just missed each other like ships in the night.
No, didn't even breathe the same air as him. This leads on the Rocky mourning Mick's passing and a montage of him in Philly. What are you laughing about?
It's just funny to me, the shots that they get of him just being sad and alone all around Philadelphia. Drives the motorcycle up the steps and he's looking at the statue. Just these sad 80s montages are just ridiculous.
Yeah, and the track is called Mickey on the soundtrack, the music that's being played by Bill Conti. But I like how, well, it's actually quite creepy. You know, the way, like, he can't go to his grave. Well, he's not buried in a graveyard.
He's in like a tomb.
It's like a tomb, but he's sitting outside the tomb, and you see that like at nighttime, and you see like the camera pan around, you know. And but I like how it accumulates. But when he lifts the helmet off and he throws it at the statue, and it bounces off the arm, and the way the music plays there.
Yeah, no, it's great. Honestly, and you know, we get an ultimate payoff in a second.
Yeah, but there's an awful lot of rage in Rocky there.
Oh, he's upset.
He does. He ends up back at the old gym, Mighty Mick's Boxing, and inside he punches a speedball and hears a voice.
That's not the way to do it. Who's that?
Apollo is in the doorway with a massive white raincoat on.
It's nasty out.
I don't know why. It just reminded me of like Billy D. Williams and Batman in that coat. I don't know why.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, a lot of nice coats. You know, Rocky himself had a nice Columbo-esque coat earlier.
He did. It was like a camel skin type of coat. Yeah. And yeah, so he steps into the light and Rocky's like, Apollo? And he's like, right. And he goes on to say, I waited at your house for about an hour. Your wife said you might be here. And he says, what are you doing here? And he's like, business. So Apollo's great, doesn't he?
I love Apollo. This is some great scenes with him. He does a great job through this and training him and everything. I love this aspect of Apollo. Some of the best Carl Weathers we'll get.
Yeah, he's so cool. He's so good in this movie. And I seen an interview with Stallone after he died. He said he should have been nominated for an Oscar.
He should have. They always overlooked Carl Weathers' performances, though.
They did. He'll always be Apollo Creed. Like,
Yeah, always, no matter what he did, and like even though he's great in Predator as well, it's like, but he's
yeah.
Apollo Creed. Like my second favorite character behind Rocky in the franchise.
No, I think he is for me as well. And like, I was so hard to pick a favorite villain. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like he's more than a villain now. He's more than a foe. He's a friend. So if I put him in with the good guys, then we can pick Clubber as our favorite bad guy. You know?
Yeah, I always liked Apollo, even in the beginning. Like I always just liked him. Just even the scenes when you cut to him, he just seemed like a likable guy.
Yeah. I woke up, man. Why don't you? Yeah, I like his arc in Predator as well.
Yeah, he's great in Predator. I love him in Predator. Predator's great.
Yeah. So fade in the next scene, and Apollo is trying to talk Rocky into a rematch with Clubber. He wants to promote it, and Rocky doesn't want it. But Creed tells him he lost the fight for all the wrong reasons. You lost your edge. He says he didn't look hungry. Now, when we fought, you had that eye of the tiger, man, the edge. And he says, maybe we could win it back together.
Yeah. They want to get Clubber, man. They both do. And he sees that there's a way. We got to just make some changes, get your head back in there, and you can do it.
Yep. And he's like, eye of the tiger.
Eye of the tiger, man.
And he says, why you? And he says, I have the plan. And Rocky's like, you got me curious. And Apollo says, you got me curious, Rock. So cut the Clubber on the TV speaking to a sports anchor, and he says, the sports anchor says, do you accept the challenge to a rematch with Balboa? And
he says, I reject the challenge.
Because Balboa is no challenge, but I'd be happy to beat up on him some more. And he says to him, what do you think of him being trained by that by Apollo Creed? And he goes, Apollo who? You talking about that old fool Apollo Creed? And he's like, sheesh, one has been teaching another. And he says, Apollo's been running off at the mouth recently. And when I see him, I'm going to close it for him. So Clubber says he's going to train harder this time, and he's going to torture him. I'm going to crucify him. You hear the anchor saying, hard words from a hard man. So the anchor says the odds are against Rocky making a comeback at 34. His time is past.
Yeah, but I wish him luck, he said.
That's right, as if to say, good luck, Rocky. You've been great. See you later. Yeah, and Rocky, Paulie, and Apollo are watching this, and Paulie says, "Don't listen to them, Rocky," and Apollo says, "Do listen to them." He says, "There's gonna be a lot of folks who owe you an engraved apology when this is over." And he says, turns to Rocky, and he says, "Oh, and you're gonna owe me a favor."
Yeah, first we hear this favor.
Cut to Rocky leaving for LA with Adrian, Paulie, and Apollo, and Junior is with the nanny, so they're leaving the child with the nanny as he leaves. And we fade to the streets of LA, a funky, slow version of Take You Back. And a taxi pulls up at, say, the Hotel Loran, and Apollo gets out and he says, "This is where I started." And Paulie says, "This place is disgusting." And Apollo says, "Look, I think you're missing the point."
Yeah, this is where we start to get the Paulie racism,
Yeah, he doesn't like it here. He's like, so Apollo says, "Let's get in and then we can get over to the gym." And Paulie says, "I don't even have a gun." He's like, "Rocky, this place is against you and the sister's standards." You forgot where they came from. Now he's living with Rocky, huh?
I know. Now he gets to live in the big house, and he gets all pouty anytime they go back to it. Does you not remember where they used to live? That's how quick Paulie's mind is. It's not even. He's just not all there. He's just an asshole.
So fade into making their way down the alley to Tough Jim.
Tough Jim. That's where he started.
That's where he started. That's your problem. Well, that's what happens in the next scene here. So inside, every fighter stops when they see Apollo enter with Rocky. Now, I just want to ask the question here about this. You talk about like racism, and I'm being sincere here. Do you think there's a bit of racism towards Rocky when he walks in? Because this gym's full of all black fighters, and here's a white man walking through the door.
I thought that's originally that was what popped in my head was that's what they're pointing at, but I also thought, well, it could be them pointing at Apollo and Rocky walking in, like we know who these guys are. It's a boxing gym, so I was like, you could look at it both ways.
Because they're supposed to hate each other.
Well, just not just that, but I mean, imagine like the biggest boxers in the world walking into your gym. You're gonna point at them, right?
Well, they're just standing scowling at them.
Yeah, like, but the like one guy points and it's like, oh, look who it is over there, says to the other guy. So it's like they just like, they couldn't be like, oh, who's the white dude? It could also just be like, that's Rocky over there in Apollo Creed.
In disbelief, they're just standing there.
Yeah, imagine like if some big celebrity walking in, like just where you are, you're gonna stop too.
I tell them to get out. Get out.
You're not welcome here.
Don't care who you are, get out of my house. But Apollo does say, this is where I started. And Paulie says, that's your problem.
That's your problem. Yeah, Paul's got a comment for everything.
He does. And he tells Rocky to look at their eyes as they have the eye of the tiger, and he's got to get that look back. He's like, you had that look when we fought. I trained hard, but I didn't have that. And Paulie says, no class here. And Apollo gets offended. And Apollo says, is he always this cheerful? And Rocky says, don't get mentally irregular. Apollo, it just takes about 6 years to get to know him. And Apollo says, well, I ain't got 6 years.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
He's just got to act normal.
He's going to die.
Yeah. If he keeps running, I'm surprised nobody punched him throughout the entire time he was
but I'm saying Apollo's going to die.
Oh, yeah. Well,
he's got 6 years. He hasn't got 6 years. He doesn't know that, though.
No, we know that. But unfortunately, no, they don't know.
Yep. So they meet up with Tony Duke Evers, who you mentioned earlier, John.
Yep, just popped up in the gym. He was hanging out waiting for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Apollo's got this all set in place. That's his gym. That's Tony's gym, and he's obviously said, yeah. Well, Tony Duke, that's his gym, and he's obviously said we're flying out because Apollo lives in LA.
Yeah,
right.
Which makes sense.
Because you hear Paulie saying, "Why don't we stay at your place?" And he's like, "That's not the point. You're missing the point."
Yeah.
Right. And he says, this is where I started. So, and Tony trained him. You see, Tony, I know this is like, I don't know if Stallone had this in mind, but or is it like when he writes the saga movie, he dreams this up? We don't know. But he turns out and he says about Tony says about Apollo, he was like a son to me. I raised him. Yeah. So I think this is Tony's gym. Tony's there. He trains fighters. And Apollo said to him, listen, we're bringing Rocket. We're going to train him for rematch with Clubber. He says to him, everything's set up and ready to go. It'll be good working with you. Certainly had enough of working against you.
Yeah, can you blame him? He gave him headaches for a year with these matches with him.
Well, Tony didn't want the rematch. Tony didn't want the rematch for Rocky.
No, that's what cost him. He knew that Rocky had the hunger that Clubber has.
Mm-hmm. It was like about kind of like what Mick. Yeah, was said.
Yep, exactly. He's like,
so this is the thing. These old trainers, see these trainers that train championship boxers. Obviously, there's different levels, but a lot of these trainers just train ordinary fighters, ordinary kids off the street to come into gyms. That's who they train. And every now and again, somebody special comes around and they can coach them into being world champions, right? So they're just normal trainers. So this is what Tony's doing. He's got all these prospects, all these fighters, and Apollo said, "Look, I'm going to bring Rocky over. We're going to train him for this fight." And he's went, "Okay." Yeah. So Apollo says, we've been living modern, but now we're gonna train old. So Apollo goes to greet some of the other fighters. So that's when he says, I'm gonna go over and speak to some of the guys. So Rocky kind of sees here that he's not the main man in this part of town, right? Apollo's still their hero, their idol, their champion.
I mean, as he should be. Apollo had a great career.
Yeah, I think he was like 41-1.
Yeah, he ran into Rocky, unfortunately.
Something like that, yeah. Paulie wants to leave. He doesn't like these people.
Yeah, he's a bit of a racist.
Yeah. And Rocky says, maybe they don't like you either, Paulie. And he says, what I do to them? And Rocky says, and they call me Punchy. But then Apollo calls Rocky over to meet some of the fighters. So that's where they kind of like, embrace Rocky. And you know what I mean? And you see it because he calls him over and they start kind of like, greeting him. And for me, John, this is the first step to building Rocky's confidence, is this crowd lauding Rocky. Not as a failure, but as a champion.
Celebrated man.
Cut to the dingy gym. Eye of the Tiger instrumental playing on a ghetto blaster. And the start of Rocky's training with Apollo and Duke. And Apollo saying, on the toes, on the toes. And Polly says, you're wasting your time. He's got heavy feet. He can't train to the jungle junk music. You can't train him like a collared fighter. He ain't got no rhythm.
He doesn't have rhythm, that's for sure.
No. And Apollo, that's when Apollo turns and says, can he swim? For
Yeah,
a
and
name
that's
like Rock.
That's
Go
a
ahead.
great line.
Don't know if you want to. Do you want to say that one?
With a name like Rock?
And we cut the Rocky swimming hopelessly.
Yeah,
And
it's bad out there.
so he's doing the butterfly, which is tough. It's tough to do the old butterfly. Yeah, it is tough.
I
You
used
got
to
to
be a
get it.
good swimmer.
I'm a good swimmer on the old what do you call that stroke? Breaststroke.
Breaststroke, yeah.
Yeah, I swam for like 3 years.
Oh,
I
really?
used to swim a kilometer twice a week. I could do it. I could do it in about 20. It was 40 lengths, so 40 lengths of the pool. I could do it in about less than 20 minutes.
Oh, nice. Wow, didn't know that about you.
Yeah, there you go. Learn something new about me, mate. But I
Yeah.
give it up. I give it up, and
All for
not,
this, right?
not very fit anymore.
You
But-
still look great.
Yeah, I should go back to it. You know.
Getting the old lap pool.
Paulie and his words of wisdom.
Mm.
He's a bruiser, not a boxer. And Apollo says, you keep telling him that and he'll be nothing, you know? And I like how Paulie goes, yeah, as if that's a good idea. Because he was jealous of him.
Yep, of course. That's exactly what Paulie's. It's fucking Paulie, man. It's just Paulie.
Yeah. So that night, Paulie can't sleep. There's a couple of winos outside the alley.
Yeah. Gotta yell at them.
They're keeping him awake, and he says again, no class. Lying drunk in a bloody police cell earlier on.
Yeah, now this isn't good enough for him. Meanwhile, again, where he used to live, this guy just forgets so quick.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Apollo and Duke rewatched the first Rocky and Clubber fight. This is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
As I said, on a black and white projector. And Duke says, damn, that club is strong. And Apollo concludes they have to put him away early. As the pace they will be setting Rocky at, he'll gas after 78 rounds. So as I mentioned earlier, I thought that Mickey had the correct kind of like tactics, but I suppose they're as we find out through the training here, they're setting Rocky up to be fast, rather than power. It's more speed to kind of break him down.
More agile.
That's why he loses the weight. That's why they work on speed rather than lifting weights. It's probably more like this is probably more like how a boxer actually trains rather than what you see in Rocky 1 and 2.
Yeah, no, he's got exactly kind of how he's training. I love watching him, by the way, with his feet work, moving forward and back and everything.
Yeah, it's great. Cut to Rocky and Adrian in their hotel room, and Adrian says, "Well, we never really had a honeymoon."
Yeah,
and,
she's trying to make the best of it. She looks great here, by the way, with her wet hair.
She does actually. I thought that the other night as well. She looks very good looking, but she always was good looking. But she was kind of dumbed down in the first two, especially the first Rocky movie, then the second. But this one here, yeah, she's. I mean, you see her in The Godfather. She's beautiful looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, they gotta make her look like the the lonely pet store clerk that nobody would want. Now it's like, she has her glow up.
How many sweaters were you wearing? 6. But Rocky's mind is somewhere else. He's reliving the fight in his head, and I like how you just hear that. You hear the commentary. Oh, yeah. Rocky's in the corner. He can't get out of the corner.
Or he can't escape it. This is all that's on his mind. They have to show it.
It's a fear, just reliving it over and over again in his head. So we fade into the gym, and Rocky continues his training, bouncing a handball. And Apollo's on your toes. That's all Apollo says throughout this whole training.
It's good advice. Well, that's what they're trying to do is get him on his feet.
And he's saying, push yourself, Rock. Concentrate. And Rocky and Apollo move around the ring, and Duke is saying, it'll come. Just takes a little time, baby. Just takes time. Fade into Apollo sparring Rocky, and Duke's telling him to move his head, but Apollo's landing, and this is where Apollo explodes at him because things aren't.
He's not even fighting back. He's just like taking this beating, and it's just like after everything that they've been doing, just scaring the hell out of him.
Well, I think watching this again, just obviously with the critical eye, which we haven't mentioned for a while, John. And even though I've seen this movie, like, I don't know, 50 times, God knows how many times I've seen this movie, you expect that he's supposed to be fighting back, but I don't think he is supposed to be fighting back. He's supposed to be dodging the punches, side to side, side to side, but he's seizing up and he's just hitting them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
He's just taking the beating. He's not even trying to, like, he's not interacting with Apollo at all. Apollo's trying to get in his head, talking to him, like, explaining who Clubber is. Now watch the jab, and he's just taking this, and he's just like, "What is wrong with you?" He's like, just not breaking through him.
Because sometimes the training is just you're not allowed to punch back. Some of the training, you're training just to slip the punches side to side, so the jab doesn't hit you. You know what I mean? But he sees because he's afraid, he's scared, he's not moving, and of course. Then that's when Apollo screams, "Damn, man, what the hell are you doing? This guy will knock you on your ass. You thought I was tough? This chump will kill you." And they resume the sparring again, but again, he seizes up and he starts having a flashback to his fight with Clubber.
Yeah.
And Apollo says,
Damn, Rod, come on! What's the matter with you?
Tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow.
"There is no tomorrow."
There is no tomorrow.
Yeah. And then it cuts to Rocky looking into the mirror at himself,
Yeah, like he's just reflecting on the person that he is.
Yeah.
And like what he's become and like where his head is. Where's my headspace right now? And it's not here. And that's the problem. That's what they went there to do, was for him to like start focusing on the fight, on this rematch, but he can't. He's haunted by Mick's death at the last fight. He's just worried. He's afraid.
He's afraid, John. As you say, look, he took this. He got talked into taking the rematch, but as time has gone on and he's had more time to think about it, he's starting to think. He's kind of got like PTSD from the fight type of thing.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. It broke him. He had that ultra confidence, like we were talking about at the beginning. He's doing the bow. He's doing the whole thing. He basically feels like he can't be stopped. And then this guy literally knocked him out in the second round. He lost his trainer, and like. He's just not the same guy. And, Apollo's trying to bring that out of him.
And Apollo knows this because he's been in the ring twice. So he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "What the hell's wrong with you? This isn't the guy I fought. What's going on?" So fade into the beach. And I love how beautiful this looks. Apollo tells Rocky he needs to get quickness and endurance. And Rocky says, "Mickey never had me do this." And I love how compassionate, but Creed is, because he turns and looks at him and he goes, "Yeah."
Yeah. Just didn't they say, well, Mick's not here. He just said, yeah. Like, just like being like, yeah, I understand how you're feeling, but we're trying something right now.
Yeah. So Apollo and Rocky race down the beach, and Duke and Adrian and Paulie are at the other end, and Rocky's lagging behind when he starts to have flashbacks of the fight, and he's hearing Mickey in his head saying, "You can't win, Rock. Hell, you haven't been hungry since you won that belt." And then there's like a clip of Clubber punching Rocky from later in the fight. Do you notice it shows you a clip of Clubber punching him, but it's from the later fight.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. And I remember the open mat, you could see he was wearing the Stars and Stripes trunks.
Yep.
But on the Blu-ray you can't see it. They've cropped it off, but you can see Clubber's wearing the black stripes with black shorts with a white stripe, which he wears in the later fight. In the earlier fight, I think he's wearing like a light blue with a white stripe. So then you hear Mick saying, "He'll knock you to tomorrow, Rock." And then Mickey's you see a clip of Mickey's funeral and Clubber KOing him, and Rocky's fallen in that great shot of him just falling down and hitting the canvas, his head hitting off that, bouncing off that, and Rocky stops and Apollo turns. Paulie says, "What's the matter?" And Apollo says,
It's over. It's all over.
Yeah, he's defeated.
He's thinking, "I can't work with this. What's the matter with you?"
He doesn't even finish the race. He just, like, his head's not even there in this. Like, you can't just do a simple run up the beach. That's how far gone he is.
Well, it's like, as you say, he didn't finish it. It's like, oh, well, Apollo's already finished, so what's the point in me finishing? And he's quitting. He's quitting. Apollo's probably thinking, well, what the hell am I wasting my time here for then? If this is what's going to happen, if you're just going to quit.
Yeah, exactly.
That great Bill Conte score starts, and we go into what is probably the best scene of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that shot of them both on the beach, Adrian and Rocky, and she confronts him about what's really going on. Rocky says he doesn't want it anymore, and he feels like Mickey carried him so he could keep the title longer than he should have it. Adrian says he loved you, and that was his job, protecting you. And Rocky says, you wake up after a few years thinking you're a winner, but you're not. You're really a loser. Nothing is real if you don't believe in yourself. Yeah, Rocky's lost belief in himself, and he's actually hiding his true feelings because Adrian's not buying this. This is just all excuses. She's like,
What do we have that can't be replaced? What? A house. We got cars. We got money. We got everything but the truth. What's the truth, damn it?
what's the truth, God damn it? And he says, I'm afraid. Okay? You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I love that. I always think of South Park. Randy does this exact speech when he's got to fight the Bat Dad at a Little League baseball game. It always pops in my head. But it's incredible, like how she gets, all we don't have is the truth. I mean, great acting by Talia Shire, by the way.
Brilliant. And she says, I'm afraid too. It's okay to be afraid. And he says, it's not for me. And she says, you're human, aren't you? And he says, I love this name, which doesn't make sense. He says, I don't know what I am. All I know is that I'm a liar. And because of that, Mickey ain't here no more. So she says he was a grown man and he did what he had to do. This is a great argument. I love this. I don't know if I mentioned this is the best scene in the movie.
It is the best scene. I agree.
Yeah. And we then go into Adrian's amazing speech in the movie.
You were a champion, and you did what you were expected to do, and you did what I and everybody else thought you should do. And you want to tell me that those fights weren't real, that you were carried? Well, I don't believe it. It doesn't matter what I believe, because you're the one that's got to carry that fear around inside you.
Yeah, this all accumulates in Adrian telling Rocky that Apollo thinks you can do it, so do I. But you gotta want to do it for the right reasons, not for the guilt over Mickey, not for the people, not for the title, not for the money or me, but for you, which is great. He's got to do it for himself, not for all the stuff he was doing it for at the start of the movie. And Rocky says, how'd you get so tough? And Adrian says, I live with a fighter. And yeah, they kiss and hug. I love you. So
the monologue is great. The whole monologue is phenomenal. Just like how she starts it off with like, what can we lose? We could lose anything. Like, we just need the truth. The whole thing from beginning to end is just perfectly well done. And like I said, just phenomenal acting by Talia Shire.
Yes, and you mentioned it before, John. Absolutely brilliant the way like she was kind of like, what can we not get with, or what can we not have what do we have that can't be replaced, which is great as well.
All we don't have is the truth.
The truth, God damn it! I'm afraid. Anyway, so yeah, great scene, love it. But then we fade into the gonna fly now scene, and the training montage. Apollo and Rocky running on the beach, doing the speed bag, learning to dance on his toes, the speedball, the swimming, 5 more laps. A lot of testosterone in this scene as well, John. Punch and move, jab and move, skipping. I love how Apollo says they're ho 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 ho, very nice.
Yeah.
And we intercut with Apollo and Rocky racing on the beach, and Rocky moving ahead, and the swimming where Paulie, he pulls Paulie into the pool. Paulie calls him Rocky the Fish, and he pulls him into the pool, which I think Stallone wasn't supposed to do. It wasn't in the script, and he just pulled Burt John into the pool.
I'm sure Burt was pretty pissed off, but I mean, if they're having fun, why not, right?
And I think their reactions were real. You see Apollo and Adrian laughing. So this all accumulates on Rocky finally overtaking Apollo in the race on the beach, and they splash and hug together in the surf. Such a great bromance.
Oh my God, them hugging and everything. David, we got to do that.
but listen, it'll have to be your side of the pond, because you don't want to jump in the water here. It's freezing. So, I know the North Atlantic, probably your side's a bit cold, but it might heat up a bit more in the summer than it does
August,
here.
we'll be okay in August. But yeah, not like that Pacific Ocean over there in Los Angeles where they're just jumping up and down. Hugging on each other with the water splashing everywhere. Great way to end that monologue.
And I love how
that monologue.
No, the montage, but I love how Rocky's kind of like clapping and all.
I know, it's ridiculous. So cheesy.
We've had how many? 2 training montages in the first movie. I love both of them. We have two training montages in the second movie. Especially love the first training montage of the second movie. The second training montage is great too. But I think with two in this as well, we've got Pushing earlier on, Pushing, which I love the song on that. I think that's great. Different kind of vibe. What do you think? How does this one rank in the montages thus far in the Rocky franchise?
It's probably third, I would say, like, because it's very similar to, it's like LA, and I got a guy with me of the first one, kind of, it's basically showing his new training regimen that he's got to do. It reminded me a lot, especially with the sun coming up at the very beginning of the first one, especially.
Yeah, I love that when they're on the beach and you see the sun.
Yeah, and they got
Yeah.
the things around their neck. I don't know what the hell they're wearing, matching, jumpsuits and everything. They got the birds flying, the seagulls. Like, it's a good way to start it. And, we get to see finally Rocky getting this stuff. Like I said, I love in this one where like they're moving up and backwards. Their footwork works kind of on even playing around now. I love it. I really do. I love these. I love a good training montage. I still think either one or two is the best one in the entire franchise. Even though I do love the Rocky 4 one, but the intercutting with old Drago getting the steroids in him.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, so yeah, just thinking about the training montages. So I have a few things to say now. To your response, just got me thinking. So of course, you got Apollo with his crapped off T-shirt.
Oh my god,
showing his belly, which is so 80s. You have like the close up of the legs and the muscles, which as I say, a lot of testosterone going there, which was a feature of like these type of muscle bound action movies of the 80s. You especially see it again in Rocky 4. But this is the third time, and it's the final time that let's take Balboa out of it for now. But the first 5 movies, it's the final time Gonna Fly Now is played. So it's played in the first movie, the second movie, the third movie. So you're ranking this third on those 3 training montages. This is, again, Rocky never runs up them steps again.
No.
Until Balboa, which we're forgetting about. So, he doesn't run up the steps in this. So that's a wee bit of a differentiator there. It sounds different. The Gonna Fly Now in this sounds different than it does in the other 2 movies. It seems more bassy or bassy. And I don't think there's any women either singing in it either.
I think you're right. I did notice that, actually. You're right. Because I was like, it starts off like the same, but it doesn't play out the same.
Mm-hmm. I think my favorite probably has to be of the Gonna Fly Now training montages is the first one, I think.
Really? I do like a lot in 2 when the crowd joins in with him and everyone's following him.
Yeah, the kids.
Yeah. So I don't know, but the first one's iconic.
It is so iconic, and running up them steps and him turning and jumping like that. Like, come on, that's Rocky. It's on the poster.
Yeah, it's iconic. Yeah. It's hard to say that that's not it. It's one of the most famous things in film history, not just in Rocky lore.
Them jumping around in the surf is not on the Rocky 3 poster.
No, it's not on any poster unless it's something about something about manly love. That's the only poster.
I might get a print out of that and put it on the ceiling.
I mean, it's fucking great. What can I say? It's so 80s.
It is so great. It is kind of iconic in its own way. Not as iconic as the original movie, or even the second movie to that point, because you've got Rocky wearing the red bandana and all, which foreshadows Rambo. But it freeze frames on them in the surf there, which begs the question, John, why didn't Apollo just fight Clubber and win the title for himself if he's that good?
I guess he probably doesn't. I was thinking the same because he kind of lets Rocky win. I was thinking that throughout. I'm like, he's still got the fight in him. Why doesn't he fight Clubber? And it's just like, maybe he's like committed to his retirement. There used to be a thing where when you retired, you honored it, and he's like probably like, I retired.
Maybe it's because he says I don't have the eye of the tiger anymore.
Maybe he
just doesn't want it anymore. Now I've heard a few like silly fan theories, which I was meant to bring one up earlier. We're talking about Clubber when he was in prison. There's this fan theory, right, which I think is just like revisionist kind of history. If you remember in the second movie, Apollo actually won the first fight, but people thought Rocky did, and he was getting hate mail. And he reads a letter to his wife. He's like, "Will you hear this one?" It's like, "How much did you get to carry that bomb for 15 rounds? You're a disgrace to your people. Go kill yourself." Right? There's a fan theory that letter was written by Clubber, and that's why Clubber detests Apollo Creed.
It's a good theory if you actually traced it, but I thought that he just didn't like Apollo, didn't like Clubber just because of his attitude and his aggression towards everyone.
Not that. No, that's why Clubber didn't like Apollo. Apollo probably doesn't even remember who he is. Doesn't know who he is. He got all these letters about hate mail. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
like that's why Clubber
that's why
gets those.
Clubber hates Apollo.
Yes. Okay. Well, that you know what that adds up.
And if he was in prison, he could have wrote it in prison and sent it to him.
And we can see how much he detests Rocky too, just from the very beginning. He just, he's walking out of fights every chance he gets. He gets the ticket and he leaves.
And the other fan theory as well, what that I heard as well, I don't give much credence to this one, no pun intended, is that the reason that Apollo wanted to train Rocky to beat Clubber was because he wanted another rematch with Rocky. Although they get the rematch at the end behind closed doors, he wanted to push for a rematch later, a proper rematch. But I don't know if I agree with that one.
Nah, I don't know. I think he already knew where he was getting his rematch. We really don't get to see the end of the trilogy. But think about it, they both have won one. Trilogy would have sold itself. You want to really have a fight that really sells?
Exactly, 100% right. That I don't agree with that one. So that theory. So cut to Madison Square Garden. The crowd inside are chanting Rocky's name, and the commentators switch to their remote cameras inside the dressing rooms. Clubber is being interviewed, and he's really calm this time. He's civil, right?
Mhm.
He's the opposite of what he was in the first fight, and he's asked about his strategy, and he says, "Don't need any. Balboa's so predictable and stupid. The man comes straight ahead. He's tailor made for me, and he's gonna get hurt."
He doesn't know about his new training. He's a little bit different on his feet now.
You talking about that old fool Apollo Creed? One has been teaching another. So meanwhile, Apollo wraps Rocky's hands, and we'll go back to Clubber, and he says, "You could maybe do this name, John. You like this one."
No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool.
"And I will destroy any man that takes what I got."
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's worried about losing too. He's on top of the world right now.
Which I have a question about that very soon. We'll get that. It's in my notes. Apollo and Rocky have a 1-to-1. Apollo tells him to remember where he came from, what it took to get here, and what Clubber did to him last time.
Don't forget that.
Commentators suggest the odds are long against Rocky regaining his title, and Apollo says to him, "It's your turn." So the interviewer says to Clubber, "What's your prediction for the fight?" And Clubber says, "Prediction?" I love how he kind of looks at the camera and he goes, "Pain."
Pain.
Oh, it's so good. He's so iconic. The commentators suggest Rocky may not have psychologically recovered from the previous KO, which we know he was having problems with that ourselves by watching the movie.
It took a lot for him to get over that.
It did. It's like in the Goonies, at the end of the Goonies, where one of the Fratelli brothers says to the other one, "Maybe it's a booby trap," and he goes, "A what? A booby what?" And he says, "Booby trap. Haven't you seen the movie?" Anyway, so Apollo enters Rocky's dressing room and brings him a cake. Oh no, sorry, it's not a cake. It's a box. Right, box. He opens it up. It's like a cake box.
It does look like a cake box. I don't recall a cake, but okay.
See your face. I seen the director's cut, John.
Yeah. I'm like, what? What would I watch?
Stallion, you trained hard, so I have this cake made for you. And it's a cake of mixed face.
Oh, you like it.
Or what about a cake of Clubber's face?
And you got the line that says, "I pity the fool." Oh, it's very nice.
It says world heavyweight champion above it.
It says paper champion.
Paper champion. Fool. That's how it ends. No, it's a stars and stripes shorts are in the white box, and Rocky's reluctant to wear them. "I can't wear your colors, Apollo." And he says, Apollo insists. Now, do you think this is Apollo's way of living through Rocky to beat Clubber? He's wearing his shorts.
It does feel like that they're kind of a team here, and this is like him kind of getting in on it. Like, we're going to change it up, even though the Rocky stuff is in red, but they got away from the yellow and black and white. That was really Rocky's colors. And it's kind of like, it's a joint effort. Like,
Yeah.
I get as much credit for this as you do. And I think you're going to win. I want you to wear my trunks, but it's also like an olive branch to their future friendship.
Because we see it again in Rocky 4. Rocky wears the stars and stripes again to honor Apollo because he
Yeah.
died. But there's also this kind of like America versus Russia type of thing going on too, because you have Ivan Drago wearing like the hammer and sickle shorts as well. But you see later in Rocky 5, Rocky throwing the stars and stripes to Tommy Gunn. Now the difference is Tommy Gunn didn't really earn it, so it
No.
feels like a bit of a slight
waste.
on Apollo's memory.
Yeah, well, he really had a lot of hope for Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn betrayed him, though.
He did betray him, yeah. But that's a different story. We will get to that, John.
See you in 2028, folks.
Oh no, we have a show coming up about that.
Oh yeah, well, I meant we'll eventually do it on this show, won't we?
Yeah, I would love to. Of course,
Maybe.
would love to. Would love to do it. Yeah, would love to.
Maybe not in 2028, maybe 2038. Who knows?
Yeah, well, no, we'll definitely do it. But we've got an Axis show coming up about it.
Oh yeah, we do have one about Rocky 5. I forgot about that actually.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it very soon. Yeah, we've got an Axis show coming up in November.
That's right. I completely forgot.
There you go. Where we're just going to have a wee chat about it, and that's it. Because God knows where we'll be in 2 years' time.
Yeah, who the hell knows? I mean, listen, one of us could end up like Mick.
But listen, since you insulted me earlier, saying I'm as old as Mick,
In this story,
so either that, I could be beat to death, like Apollo. You never know.
You never do know if you run into your Dragos. As long as you don't show up here with the old, hearing aid, we're good.
That's just imagine me out over the Long Island and kind of being, "How you doing there?"
A combination of Quint and Mick is how I see your future going.
Call me Mick Quint.
You'll have the hat and the hearing aid. You'll have Quint's hat and Mick's hearing aid.
The hearing aid. Mickey Quint.
Mickey Quint. That works better. You're wearing Quint shirt right now.
I know. Shirt. Quint's shirt there. That's a good one. Okay, so Apollo says, just you make sure you wash them before you bring them back to me, right?
Fair
And
request.
it is very fair. And just as well as Rocky didn't shit himself in the way in there, right?
Hopefully not. You have to know until he's on a fight.
And Apollo reminds Rocky, after this, you owe me a favor. And Rocky's like, what favor?
I know. Second time the favors reference.
By this time, he responds. The first time, he didn't have the confidence to do that.
No.
He just sat there. So he did. Anyway, so the commentators say toe-to-toe lines utterly devastating, and he's much stronger. So I like this. Or he's much too strong. I like this way, the way to keep the action moving, but it's cutting in between. It kind of feels like, I love the whole, there's a lot more build up to the fights in this movie than there was in the first and second movie. There's a lot of like behind the scenes advice and what the commentators think and showing, the opposite. Well, they did show Apollo's changing room in the second movies, but they're showing Clubber's changing room kind of, but not much background about Clubber. But I like all this kind of slowly building it up. I think it's great.
Me too. I do. Getting ready, making it feel epic.
Yeah, because it's like I'm not saying it's like a real fight. It's a movie, but it's like if you ever sit down to watch a big heavyweight fight, like part of the fun of watching a heavyweight fight is the build up, the anticipation.
Oh yeah, that's how you sell a fight. It's got to feel like it's going to be something special, something big, something epic, and that's what they've done with this. I mean, it's the rematch of these two. Like we saw him, like it's like, does Apollo help him? Like you could sell this fight. I could see the vision of like them selling this match.
Yeah, the only thing that just popped in my head there, but they don't have in this fight, is a press conference, which would have been fun.
Yeah, it's kind of quick, honestly. It's the movie is shorter. Like the other ones had like press conferences, but like once he kind of gets his mojo back, that's it. Like the second them fight, like hugging in the water, that's it. We're going to the fight.
Yeah, but go straight into it. So Rocky emerges from his dressing room, and led by Paulie, and Apollo says to him, "I'm proud of you. It takes a hell of a man to change, and you did it." And Paulie, to his credit, turns to Apollo and he says, "You did good, Apollo."
Yeah, he does give him some credit. I mean, in Paulie's own little way, he should have apologized too. But I'll take it. I'll take this one. I'll take his little that's a lot to get out of Paulie.
That's his way of
I know you got to accept him for who he is, or you don't. You're not going to get along with him because he's just an asshole.
And it didn't take 6 years.
No, it didn't take 6 years. It took 6 weeks.
6 weeks. So Apollo done good. And Rocky makes his way to the ring, total concentration, face leg stone. So you can tell he's different already. The commentators make reference that was the watch him walking to the ring. So Clubber makes his way in to booze, and he pushes someone who comes at him in the crowd, and you hear the commentator saying, "He even dealt with a spectator on the way in. Did you see that? Look at that man, boy, awesome." they're sitting there in awe, and you hear one of them saying, "Man, he's tough. Look at that."
Yeah, he does look like a freak of nature. He's so cut.
He's brilliant. And so Clubber gets in the ring and he says to Rocky, "Hey, fool, you ready for another beating? Should have never came back." And he says, the Apollo, Apollo says, "Let's just be cool." And then you see him lurking in the background. He's like, "Hey, boy, after I crucify him, you're next." And
Can't shut
Apollo,
the fuck up.
you see Apollo kind of turning like, "Oh, for fuck's sake." You know what I mean? He turns and he's like, "Just stay out of my face, chump." When he turns his back on a Clubber, Clubber's like, "Don't turn your back at me, sucker."
He hates that.
He fucking hates. I think he hates fucking Creed more than Rocky.
He seems to hate them both. I didn't see anyone liking him. I don't even know if his trainer likes him. We see him training alone. I could see them probably getting in a fight, being like, "I'm not dealing with this fucking guy. I'm going home. Fight alone. Practice alone."
That's probably why. Yeah, he trains alone. That's probably why. Yeah.
No one can stand him.
Yeah. So a ruckus ensues, and then Rocky says, "I thought you said be cool," and Apollo says, "That was cool."
It's cool for us. Yeah.
Clubber says, "I'll beat you like I did the last time." The MC introduces Rocky. And you hear the commentator saying he looks like a middleweight. He's all doing this in the ring now. You know, he's got some moving around the ring well. Yeah, and then Clubber, he introduces Clubber, and they face off in the middle of the ring. And Rocky's eyes don't flinch this time. You know, they're straight on Clubber's. And Clubber says, "I'm gonna bust you up." And Rocky says, "Go for it." Which is the tagline to Rocky 5.
Yeah. You're right. This is where he got the idea.
So round 1, John, begins. Rocky races across the ring, straight to Clubber, and starts jabbing at his head. So he's fighting Nick Apollo Creed, and Clubber doesn't know what's happening. He can't land a shot. Rocky's moving around the ring, hitting and moving, and tying Clubber up when he needs to. And Rocky's dodging all of Clubber's punches. So Rocky actually stuns Clubber towards the end of the round. But then the bell sounds and Clubber loses his shit.
Yeah, because he didn't expect this.
He's so frustrated. I love how Rocky just goes from one end of the ring to the other, straight to him. He's so quick. Clubber doesn't know what to do.
No, because he was expecting the Rocky from the first fight. He didn't know how he was training, and now he's like a different guy.
Yeah, and he's frustrated. He's frustrated that Rocky landed so much punches in the first round and he couldn't land one.
No, he was backing up on the punches and everything, like leaning and everything, ducking and diving. It's working.
And he's dazes him at one stage too.
Clubber's never been hit like this.
No, he's never had anybody put it on him like this before.
Nope. So he wasn't expecting this at all.
So Apollo says, "You look great. Just don't get crazy and we're home." And Clubber's giving off in the other corner. He's saying, "I'll kill you." And Rocky's like, "That man's strong."
You think?
Yeah. So round he must remember the last fight at all now. So round 2 starts a lot like the first, and Rocky's jabbing, hitting and moving, breaking Clubber down. But Clubber pushes Rocky into the corner and unleashes on him. You see like Apollo saying, "Get out of there!" And Rocky tries to maneuver to the corner, and he just pushes him back into the corner. And eventually, Clubber gets Rocky in a headlock. And the ref breaks it up. But do you notice at this part of the scene, John? You see Rocky kind of like he changes. He gets into his old stance.
Yeah, kind of ignoring his old training, the new training.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's basically like a default Rocky setting.
Yeah, because now he could just like be like how he always did. But like even Apollo brings up, he's got a hard head. You know, he can start taking the punches and it starts building him up essentially.
Yeah, he realizes that. Hold on, that didn't bother me like it did the last fight that much. Yeah. But Paulo sees this and he's like, "What are you doing?" And Clubber's like, "Come on, bell boy." And Clubber beats on Rocky, but he goes down. And at this stage, we're thinking that this is just going to go the same as the first fight now. But Rocky gets up and Clubber puts him down again. Adrian's kind of like, stop the fight. And Clubber's saying, I got a lot of more. I got a lot of more. And Rocky gets up and Clubber goes to work again. But this time, Rocky starts to taunt him. He's saying to him, ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. You ain't nothing. But I love that, how he actually pushes him in the face. And Clubber's like, you must be crazy or something. You're just a stupid fool. And Rocky says, I ain't breathing heavy.
Yeah, he's tiring him out.
So he notices that he's kind of broke him down a bit. So this is brilliant. This is the music Conquest, you call it, actually starts. This is the music from the end of Rocky 2, but they're playing it here again from Bill Conte's score. And the commentators are saying, how can you come back from a beating like that? And Apollo to Rocky, he says, hey, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? And Rocky says, it's strategy. That's all. I know what I'm doing. But I like this line from Apollo. He says, it doesn't take a man to stand there and get his head beat off. And Rocky says he's getting tired. So Clubber's corner tell him he's the champ. Don't try to take him out in one punch. Wear him down and he's ours. So that's what his trainer says. A couple of things, John, to ask you here before we end the fight. Rocky's obviously wore Clubber down them first few rounds using Creed's tactics, conditioning and training. But do you think Clubber underestimated Rocky this time round? And was living the high life after becoming the champion?
Absolutely. Totally thought, because he thought he's fighting the same guy he just fought a few weeks ago. He's like, yeah, this won't worry me. So he probably, like, he said he was training harder, but I'm sure he underestimated him, and he's preparing for the Rocky he saw. He didn't expect him to be like this, and now Rocky's getting the better of him because he's going with him longer. Like, it didn't even go for the full 2 rounds last time.
And even with like his calm demeanor and all as well in his press being interviewed before, where you kind of like look at, like, compare that to like the first fight where he was like pacing up and down like an animal. He was angry, he was focused, he was concentrated, he didn't want anybody in his locker room. But now what we have is a guy who's quite happy to talk to the press. He's not pacing up and down like an animal. He's calm, you know what I mean? And he's, you know, even though he's got that fire when he gets into the ring, it almost seems a wee bit different.
Yeah, I agree. He's, you know, just was not anticipating it's Rocky.
Yeah. So Rocky says, I know what I'm doing. And Apollo says, don't tell me what you think. Go out there and do it, Rock. I have a tiger. So he tells him to go out and beat him. Be more a man than him, John.
Yeah.
He's only a man. Be more a man.
It's good advice. Outman him. You'll win.
So, ding, round 3 starts and both fighters come out. Both are cautious. And Clubber says, I'm going to take you this time. And Rocky sees him breathing heavy. I love this, knowing they're teeing each other up. You know what I mean? And then you see that shot of Clubber like kind of breathing heavy with the blood and all over his mouth. And Rocky blocks his punch and then goes to work. So this is when it becomes a war. And Clubber fights back. He's battering Rocky. Rocky's taunting Clubber. I love how Apollo says here. He says, he's getting killed. And Paulie says, oh, no. He's not getting killed. He's getting mad.
Mad.
And Rocky's saying to him, come on. The whole world's watching. Knock me out. And this is where it kind of slows down. I still love this fight, but I love how it slows down because Rocky's like taunting him on to try and knock him out, but just he's letting him punch himself out, right?
Yeah,
And
he's letting him tire himself out, and basically, and he's like, you can't do it. You can't knock me down, and he's all tired and leaving himself open.
Yeah, he's saying, hit me harder. But you see Duke, the only time you ever see Duke really in this whole fight, and he's sitting there and he's going, no. And then it cuts to Apollo, and Apollo's like, get out of there. And Adrian's like, Rocky.
Yeah. All these individual cutaways for each of them.
But the best cutaway is Clubber's trainer, and he's like, yeah. And Rocky's like, my mother hits harder than that. So now they're trading back and forward. The crowd are chanting for Rocky. You see Adrian stand up. He starts the chanting because they can see what's happening here. They're seeing that this is a strategy. Clubber's getting tired. Rocky's starting to come on stronger. His punches aren't affecting Rocky anymore. And Rocky goes back to the boxing strategy and sticking and moving. Clubber's swinging in thin air Rocky's going to the head and body, and until eventually he breaks Clubber down, hitting him several punches to the head without response. And this is something here that I've noticed for many years. Rocky is hitting him with like left hooks. Then he hits him with, because he's a southpaw, but then he hits him with this tremendous right hook that puts Clubber down. It's the exact same punch and shot in the movie that put Apollo down in their second fight. Only this time, Rocky stays on his feet, keeps his balance.
Learning from the past.
Whereas Apollo's taught him how to keep his balance. Clubber's counted out, and Rocky regains his title. Adrian gets into the ring. Are you all right? And Rocky says, never better. You see Duke and Paulie laughing, and then there's this freeze frame of Apollo, Duke, Paulie, Rocky, and Adrian.
The main cast.
The main cast. Yep. The main guys, who've been there from the start.
Of the trilogy, yeah.
Of the trilogy, exactly. And we fade the Rocky and Apollo in the gym. So anyway, before we finish that, before we move on too quickly to the last scene of the movie, so what do you think of that fight then? You're saying there that that your favorite fight of the whole movie is the wrestling match. Okay, fair enough, you're a wrestling man. But what about the boxing fights in the trilogy? What do you think?
Well, in the entire trilogy, I was gonna say that this fight, while good, I mean, and I like the realism of it, and it's quick, and it just kind of feels like an all-out brawl between these guys, and you get to see the whole thing. The thing is just that when it's over, it's just not as climactic as the end of the first one or the end of the second one. It just feels a little bit deflated. Like Rocky just, it was so short. He doesn't look as beaten up, and he's not as tired. He just kind of like takes it, and he won, and everyone's happy, and it all worked out. Everything kind of like a plan, kind of like working out. Everything went according to the plan. Everything was fine. He did it. He won. It just doesn't feel like that big moment, like at the end of the second one or the first one, like where you're like your heart's beating. It feels a little quick to me, but it's still, I like the fight.
And as Hannibal Smith said in the A-Team, I love it when a plan comes together.
Exactly. It all just kind of worked out, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think that's a fair analysis, because I've always loved this fight in this movie, the ending fight. I think it's amazing. But everything you say is true, because when I watch it, I go, this is probably the best fight. But then I go back and watch 2, and I go, oh, I love that one. That's probably my favorite. Then I watch 4, and I go, oh, this is so good. It's my favorite. So I think you're right for the reasons, but without moving ahead from the trilogy, I think you're right about the reasons why the fight in 2 probably is the best. Because it's the whole how the climax of it, how it ends. And you're right, but I also think about sometimes these movies, we've got these stage now where, let's take the shark and Jaws again. I have to bring Jaws up, John. It's like, the shark's going to be defeated in the end, but it's how do they do it? And it's kind of like, but you've got this Disney Rocky movies where you want to see him win, but it's just, how does he do it? But yeah, the whole climax of it. And I remember seeing an interview there with Stallone where he said that he wanted to make the fight in this movie, the reason it's 3 rounds is because he wanted to show every single round, every single punch thrown, every single punch landed. That's the movie he wanted to make, was showing the fight from start to end, and that is why it only lasts 3 rounds.
Yeah, no, and he succeeded in that. It's just from a personal standpoint, it's the emotional connection that I have a problem with. And even the second fight in this movie, like the middle one, you got kind of Mickey looming over it. It's right after that fight that Mickey passed away. So like after this fight, it just kind of feels like, like it's just another win. Where unfortunately, like in 1 and 2, they have, and even in the middle fight, they have a lot more emotion attached.
Well, the first fight in this movie, it's not really much of a fight; it's more of a beatdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's terrible for him, but it's like, the emotional attachment of Mickey and like how it's edited. I just kind of like it a little bit. This is still a great fight. It really is. Like the brutality of it is awesome. It's just that if you're looking at the other 2, the emotions of it just don't match up.
Yeah, no, but I totally agree with what you're saying there, and I think Rocky's more of a boxer in this movie as well, and that's what they were going for too. They were showing him being more of a boxer by the end of it because it's trained by Apollo. They're doing proper training methods and stuff like that for speed, endurance. Moving your head and jabbing and moving and all this business. Even though Stallone admitted years later that when he watches these movies back, he cringes because he lingers too long on the punches. He's like throwing 5, 6, 7, 8 combos when it should be maybe 2 or 3 punch combos, right? Which he put into Rocky Balboa instead. Yeah, I still think it's a great fight. So it is on the whole. So Fade into Rocky and Apollo in the gym. And you hear Rocky saying, "This is extremely crazy." And Apollo says, "Yeah, it's mentally irregular, right?" And he says, "You owe me a favor." And Rocky says, "When did you think of this?" "Oh, about 3 years ago." So the favor is a rematch between Rocky and Apollo. And it's funny because Apollo said to him earlier on when he was trying to talk him into taking the rematch with uh, with Clubber, he says, "When you beat me, I heard all over. I don't want to hear from anybody, not even my kids." Um, and he says to him about here, he says to him, "I thought you got over that fight." And he says, "I lied."
That was a great line.
Yeah. So Apollo says, "No TV, no newspapers, just you and me." They get into the ring. I love this whole back and forward about, too bad we got to get old, Stallion.
Yeah, I even love the way he rings the bell too. It's hysterical while putting the mouthpiece in.
He says, "Want to ring the bell? A ding, a ding." But he also talks about here in the ring as well about I love the banter they're having. He's saying, "How are you gonna beat me?" He says, "You taught me everything you know," and he says, "Almost everything." And then he says to him about you fight great, but I'm a great fighter. So I love all that kind of banter and rapport that's built up between them.
Yeah, I do too. They feel like friends now.
Oh yeah, yeah, proper friends. And of course, they start, you know, pacing around the ring together. And I love Paul was going, "Oh boy, you look good. I trained you good, Stallion." And then Rocky says, "I think I'm in here with the wrong guy." And that's when they throw the punch and the freeze frame. The tiger starts and it fades into the painting and the credits roll.
Yeah, I love the ending to this. Now, I didn't think about this until actually I was watching or listening to the rewatchables where they're like, "Did you feel like you were cheated by not getting to see the fight?" Where it never bothered me, or I never even thought about it. I just thought this is a good way to end it.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, I think it's a good way to end it. And then they kind of like, obviously in 1982, you don't, I mean, as we just said, this is like one of the first one of the first trilogies of its kind for that era, that new decade of the sequel. And we don't know, people were probably coming out clamoring for a Rocky 4, but we
No,
don't
yeah, I'm
know.
sure.
Yeah, and we don't know. And Stone City wasn't really going to do anymore in 82. But the thing is, at the start of Rocky 4, Rocky comes driving up to the house, and I assume that is taking place straight after this fight because he's got a black eye and he's got a cap. And Rocky Jr. asks him, "What happened to your eye?" And he says, "A friend punched me. No, somebody punched me." And he says, "Who?" And he says, "A friend." And he says, "Who gave you the hat? Or where did you get the hat? Or who gave you the hat?" And he says, "The same friend."
All right. Yeah, they're probably right.
Yeah. And then later in the Creed movies, he says, Adonis says to Rocky, he says, "I believe you and my father had a third fight behind closed doors. Who won?" And Rocky says, "Your father."
Yeah, that's nice because I do think that Apollo would have beat him here, honestly.
Yeah. So, but it's a friendly sparring session, which is a wee
Yeah.
bit different than the wars that they had in the ring.
Yeah, they're not gonna kill each other here. They'll stop, hold
No.
back a little bit. They got the gear on.
Yeah. So, Rocky 3 grossed 270 million at the box office, John.
Crazy, a huge hit.
Big hit in the summer of 1982. And it was nominated for one Academy Award for Best Original Song, Eye of the Tiger by Survivor.
Yep, which it did not win, by the way.
What won that year? Do you know?
Up Where We Belong from An
I was gonna
Officer
say
and a Gentleman.
Officer and a Gentleman, which co-starred Kelvin Bouchard here.
What a year, by the way. Just what a year for like that. Those are probably two of the most iconic, and they came out in the same year.
Yeah. So, look, my final thoughts on Rocky 3 are the third installment of the Rocky series lacks the gritty, dramatic punch of the previous two films. However, the glossier sequel ups the action and introduces a formidable and memorable new nemesis for our title character to overcome, making it an exciting, over-the-top, enjoyable spectacle.
Yeah, I echo everything you said. This is the Rocky moving from the 1970s to the 1980s with the better pacing, big characters who would end up standing the test of time of the 1980s. And you also have iconic figures like Mr. T and Hulk Hogan who would become cornerstones of what the 1980s were. And of course, you can have Sylvester Stallone join the mix as well. The movie's just entertaining as hell. It's fun. It's a great Rocky movie that doesn't overstay its welcome and is still endlessly rewatchable today.
Yeah. And once this is over, John, you're gonna owe me a favor.
I owe you a lot of favors, David.
What favor? I should actually open with that, to be honest. When this podcast is over, John, you're gonna owe me a favor.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your time here with us today, talking about Rocky 3. I know I had a great time, but this is the first first film in our season of threes that we're going to be doing. So what are we doing next time here on the Let's Talk Movies podcast, David?
John, our next episode of the Let's Talk Movies podcast, we're going to be going on a crusade, a last crusade with Indiana Jones.
Yep. So you guys got to brush up on that one and tell us what your favorite one is, because we did Raiders of the Lost Ark a long time ago. We did Temple of Doom, and this is the third one in the trilogy. And David's favorite's Temple of Doom, but my favorite's always been The Last Crusade. And we're gonna fight it out like Apollo and Rocky in the next one, where it's a friendly match.
Pretty much, we're going to be sparring with each other over this one, John. We'll be sparring back and forward. And yeah, listen, it's a busy period for us coming up. We're going to have, like, as I say, Last Crusade. It's the season of the threes for the next couple of months. And we're also going to have our top 10 threes as well on our live show.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Will Rocky 3 make it for both of us? Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, I pity the fool who doesn't put it in.
All right. Well, you won't be pitying me then. Maybe. I'm not going to spoil it here.
No, I wouldn't spoil it either. I've got a preliminary list written out, so I'll just have to kind of take it a wee bit.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. I'm excited to talk about it just as much as I was excited to do Rocky 3 here with you today. And yeah, thank you guys for being with us. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you want to just hear all the Let's Talk Movies podcasts that we've done for up to this point this year in season 4 and about half of season 3, you guys can check us out over on Spotify as well. We'd appreciate you guys subscribing there. And just keep an eye on everything we're doing here on the channel. We do this, Access Cinema Appreciation, and of course the monthly live show. So stay subscribed so that you would always know what we're doing here on the channel, and we'll catch you next time around.